Chapter 640. At that moment, everyone could tell who Lu Qingshun was waiting for. However, given the situation today, it would be useless no matter who came, right? One had to know that the three sects had heard that Mu Yu had not recovered from his injuries after the battle with the Sacred Clan's land god. He was a half-dead person and could not fight at all. In that case, unless Jiangchun made a move today, the Chuanzun sect would not have a good time today. It seems that the Chuanzun sect has really declined. In that case, there's no need for it to exist. The Heavenly Star sect's first elder raised his eyebrows. He was the most arrogant person here. In response, Lu Qingchen smiled and didn't say anything. Mo Xingtian sneered and looked coldly at the Heavenly Star sect's first elder. You won't live for long. Oh, do you have a guest? Suddenly, a frivolous voice came from afar. Immediately after, the void was torn apart, and a young man covered in blood walked out of the void. His aura was a little dispirited, but his posture was tall and straight. Moreover, his body was burning with flames, as if it was going to burn everything. He walked over just like that. Even though his body was stained with blood and his aura was dispirited, he did not look at the people from the three sections. He walked very naturally and very indifferently. The wisp of a smile at the corner of his mouth gave people the feeling of a spring breeze brushing past them. However, when the people from the three sects saw the young man, their expressions changed. Jiangchun, you're not dead? You're not in seclusion in the Chuanzun sect? Several questions came out of their mouths, one after another. Some people's expressions palpitated, and their eyes flickered with fear. I went to the third mountain, Jiangchun said with a smile. He pointed at the Chuanzun sect's mountain gate and asked, Do you want to go in? Then let's go in. There's no need to wait here. He went to the third mountain? Why is he covered in blood? He seems to be seriously injured. Everyone was puzzled. Why did he go to the third mountain? That was a forbidden area. They did not know that the third mountain was a forbidden area to others, but to Jiangchun, it was no different from his own home. After all, he had been there once, and there was no harm in going there again. What's more, the human emperor's attitude towards him was not bad. He would not make things difficult for him. However, something did happen on this trip to the third mountain. Jiangchun was indeed injured. Overall, though, Jiangchun had benefited greatly from his trip to the third mountain. What? The few of you don't want to enter the Chuanzun sect and are blocking the way here. Well, what do you want to do? Jiangchun smiled and said, Don't tell me you're here to see me? Jiangchun, you've been in seclusion for so many years. What's your cultivation level now? The great elder of the Heavenly Star sect asked. He was as direct as ever. Demigod, Jiangchun said. Is that enough? This, demigod? At this moment, everyone was moved, and their hearts were filled with shock. One had to know that in this era, if there were no special circumstances and conditions, the highest cultivation level of a cultivator could reach was Celestial Decay, 5th stage. To ordinary people, demigods were already invincible existences. However, this was a glorious era. Many opportunities and fortunes had appeared. For these three sects to be able to rise in this era, they must have received some kind of great fortune. Therefore, after these people recovered from their shock, they slowly calmed down. Especially after seeing the injuries on Jiangchun's body, they calmed down even more. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a palm came down from the sky. Like a mountain, it crossed an immeasurable distance, as if it came from the other side of the world. Everywhere this palm passed, mountains collapsed, rivers collapsed, and even space itself was shattered into pieces. Oh, demigod? Jiangchun was a little surprised. Under such circumstances, someone could become a demigod? Then who was this person? It seems like your three sects are not simple. Jiangchun whispered. Then he squinted and raised his hand. Then he clenched his fist and dashed out. Whoosh! After the 6 rumbling sounds, the 6 fist lights turned into a 6-colored circle and struck out from a distance of millions of miles. This was the fist of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Boom! Boom! In the next moment, after a series of explosions, Jiangchen's fist of the 6 paths of reincarnation collided with the palm. Both of their arms shook. Jiang Chun, in particular, was already heavily injured. Now that he had taken the attack head-on, blood was flowing out of his nose and mouth. However, the palm retreated and didn't attack anymore. However, after a few breaths, from another direction, a long golden blade pierced through the air. This long blade's aura was monstrous, and it was about to cut through everything. Like a golden dragon, it pierced through space, and its target was very clear. It was Jiang Chun. Which sect is this person from? Jiang Chun raised an eyebrow, but didn't attack. Instead, he pointed at the people before the sect and said, "If this blade dares to land within 1,000 miles of the Chuanzuan sect, then these people will die." Umph! After an unknown distance, a cold snort was heard. Then, the long golden blade suddenly stopped and disappeared into the void. "It seems that there are demigods in all three sects," Jiang Chun said softly. He was very surprised. Jiang Chun didn't expect that in this glorious age, there would be so many opportunities and opportunities. There were actually demigods in all three sects. Once one broke through to the demigod realm, it was equivalent to breaking through the shackles. This also meant that they could continue to cultivate and even cultivate until they became land deities. The 5 decay of heavens and demigods were a hurdle. Once they crossed this hurdle, they would be able to reach the demigod realm. "Gentlemen, why are you still staying here? Do you think that I don't know your intentions? Or do you think that I don't dare to kill you?" Jiang Chun said softly. He turned around and walked towards the sect. He waved his hand and said, "Go. Don't come back again." With that, Jiang Chun paused and said, "Go back and tell them that I'm not dead yet." The overlord position of the godless continent belongs to the Chuanzuan sect. Lu Qingchun said before that the Chuanzuan sect won't fight for the overlord position. The Starry Sky sect's great elder said in a low voice, "I never said that I would fight for it. I'm just taking back what once belonged to me." Jiang Chun said softly, 3,000 years ago, the Chuanzuan sect was the overlord of the godless continent. 3,000 years later, I'm back, and I'll take back the overlord position. "Everyone, please go back," Lu Qingchun said and glanced at them coldly. Then he returned to the sect with Mo Xingtian. On a mountain peak in the distance, the young man who was emitting purple energy saw this scene and couldn't help but curl his lips. How boring. He thought that he could make a move today, but he didn't expect it to end just like that. Boss is still the boss. He can intimidate everyone by himself, the young man in purple said softly. Then, he quietly sat cross-legged on the mountain peak and didn't make a sound. Chapter 641. The three major sects had come to test the Chuanzuan sect, but they had not expected to be scared off by Jiang Chun alone. From now on, the Chuanzuan sect would be in charge of the barren state, and no one would dare to come in a short period of time. However, everyone knew that in such a flourishing age, there would definitely be people who had broken through the shackles, and it would not be just one or two. For example, there were people in the three major sects who had broken through the shackles and become demigods. If this continued, it might not be long before there would be people above demigods, or even gods on land. Therefore, the Chuanzuan sect could not continue like this, and it was time for them to make a move. Take the initiative to attack. At this moment, in the main hall of the Chuanzuan sect, Jiang Chun was sitting on the throne, frowning slightly as he looked at Lu Qingchun and Mo Xingtian below. Lu Qingchun had suggested that they should take the initiative to unify the godless continent as soon as possible. Only then could the Chuanzuan sect sit firmly and not have to worry about any trouble. Jiang Chun could also cultivate in peace because of this. However, for Jiang Chun, it was not very good for the Chuanzuan sect to take the initiative to attack now. This was because Jiang Chun had just cultivated to demigod cultivation, and he was injured, and his injuries were very serious. Even with the power of Jiang Chun's divine body, he would not be able to recover from this injury without 3 to 5 years. It was not appropriate for the Chuanzuan sect to take the initiative to attack when he was seriously injured. Moreover, now that there was peace everywhere, if the Chuanzuan sect took action, they would definitely become the target of everyone. At that time, not to mention the three major sects, Lin Lang Wentian alone would be enough to give Jiang Chen a headache. What about Mu Yud? How are his injuries? Jiang Chen asked. He's half dead. Lu Qingchen sighed. If Mu Yud's injuries were healed, then the three major sects would be nothing. It was a pity that Mu Yud's injuries had not healed in the previous battle. If I had known this would happen, I would have unified the godless continent before Jianglu and the others ascended. Mo Xingtian said in a low voice, feeling very upset. However, Mo Xingtian's thinking was too simple. Back then, Jiang Chen's cultivation was only at the Heaven's Blight Stage 5. In addition, Mu Yud could not make a move, and there was also Lin Lang Wentian. Even if the godless continent was unified at the beginning, after Jianglu and the others ascended, Lin Lang Wentian would still cause trouble. Moreover, in this glorious age, what was the use of a temporary unification? If they wanted to unify, they had to do it for a long time. Let's not talk about this. It was my idea to let them ascend. Jiang Chen said, 30 years is neither long nor short. It will pass in the blink of an eye. Letting them go to the ninth heaven divine realm is also to protect them. But now what should we do? Will the three sects give up? Lu Qingchen asked. There was no need to ask this question. The Jin clan, the Heavenly Star sect, and the Supreme sect, which one of them was easy to deal with? Who didn't have ambition? If these three families were willing to drop the matter, the godless continent would have been peaceful long ago. Seal the mountain. A few breaths later, Jiang Chen suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale, and even his soul had become much dimmer. This scene truly worried Lu Qingchen and Mo Xingtian. What did you do at the third mountain? Mo Xingtian asked. Isn't it still subduing my physical body? Jiang Chen sighed. Heavenly Profound Divine King's physical body was already spiritual, but it did not ascend. Jiang Chen's sneaky trip to the third mountain this time was precisely to subdue Heavenly Profound Divine King's physical body. However, subduing was subdued, but Jiang Chen was also severely injured. After I fuse with Heavenly Profound Divine King's physical body, I'll open the mountain gate, Jiang Chen said. Following that, his figure disappeared on the spot, leaving behind a pool of blood. Lu Qingchen and Mo Xingtian exchanged a glance, the worry in their eyes extremely thick. They could roughly guess how serious Jiang Chen's injuries were this time. Seal the mountain. Lu Qingchen let out a long sigh. Now that things had come to this was the only way. On this day, Chuanzun's sect sealed the mountain gate and isolated themselves from the world. It was also on this day that Lin Lang Wentian made his move. First, he made a trip to the Jin family, then to the Supreme sect, and finally to the Starry Sky sect. The next day, the Jin family announced that they would side with Lin Lang Wentian, while the Supreme sect and the Starry Sky sect chose to ally. After I deal with the Supreme sect and the Starry Sky sect, I'll deal with you, Lin Lang Wentian said softly. Standing on the mountain peak, he looked in the direction of Chuanzun's sect. Like Jiang Chen, he knew better than anyone else that there would be a battle between the two of them. Moreover, it was a battle of life and death. This was like fate that could not be avoided. Interesting. In this golden age, can you, the reincarnation of a divine king, survive? In a certain corner of this world, a young man shrouded in darkness whispered with a cold expression. He was also looking in the direction of Chuanzun's sect. After a long time, he said, "Don't die. If you die, this world will be meaningless." Time was like water. It would constantly flow and never stop. Time passed slowly, but it was also fleeting. 10 years after Chuanzun's sect sealed the mountain, on this day, all the experts in the Supreme sect and the Starry Sky sect moved out and lined up. Outside the two sects, the Jin family's patriarch led a group of heavenly human experts and stood side by side. Jin family, I really didn't expect you to be such people. You actually sided with Lin Lang Wentian. The Supreme sect's patriarch shouted. It's not that our Jin family wants to side with them, but we have no choice. The Jin family's patriarch, Jin Yunlu, sighed. In the face of absolute strength, our Jin family chose to go with the flow. What do you mean by going with the flow? The Supreme Sex Patriarch asked. Going with the flow? That's it. He's called Lin Lang Wentian. Jin Yunlu raised his eyebrows. Above the demigod level, he's infinitely close to the existence of the gods of the land. What? Infinitely close to the gods of the land? The Starry Sky Sex Patriarch exclaimed. How powerful was this cultivation? With this cultivation, he was probably invincible in this godless continent. However, the two patriarchs of the Supreme Sect and the Starry Sky Sect were unwilling. If they were given time, they would also be able to cultivate to this level. But no one would have thought that Lin Lang Wentian would not give them time. Today, I'll give you two choices. Like the Jin family, go with the flow. Jin Yunlu said, otherwise you'll die. I think it's not easy for the two of you to cultivate to this level. It would be a pity if you died just like that. Jin Yunlu said, why don't you join Lin Lang Wentian? We can create a great cause together and let the world remember it in the future. This matter, the two patriarchs frowned. It was obvious that they were hesitating. However, at this moment, Lin Lang Wentian arrived. He was very calm. There was no fluctuation in his body, as if he was immortal. However, there were fragments of the great Tao floating in his eyes. In the depths of his pupils, there were divine halos flickering with divine light. This was a sign that he was about to become a god of the land. The two of you, come with me to fight against the Chuanzun sect. Lin Lang Wentian did not ask the Starry Sky Sex Patriarch and the Supreme Sex Patriarch for their intentions. After saying this, he turned around and left. It was because he did not need to ask. He knew very well that in the face of the general situation, these two people would make the right choice. As expected, the moment Lin Lang Wentian turned around, the two of them knelt down in unison and bowed deeply. They shouted, Your Excellency. Chapter 642. In the face of absolute strength, all ambitions would turn into bubbles. All of his dignity dissipated like dust. On this day, Lin Lang Wentian unified the top sects in the world. Then many powerhouses set off, tore through the void, and headed towards the barren state. On the godless continent, many people saw the sky distorting. That was a powerhouse tearing through the void. There were also people who saw the clouds and the sky turn blood red. That was someone's blood energy soaring into the sky, dyeing the sky red. A divine weapon appeared. Its sharpness was like the sun, shining in all directions. The world is about to change. The situation of the godless continent is about to change completely. Some people were moved, thinking that after today, the true master of the godless continent would come out. There were also people who sighed. The 30-year deadline was approaching, and all the powerhouses should be on alert to deal with the sacred clan's land gods. There should not be a civil war. However, no one could stop this battle. Lin Lang Wentian's ambition was there, and everyone could see it. At this time, what's the use of unifying the godless continent? With the 30-year deadline, whether or not the godless continent can be preserved is a problem. It's really interesting. The godless continent is on the brink of life and death, and this group of people is still fighting for the position of overlord. Ridiculous. Many people ridiculed, and it was inevitable that they were a little unhappy. However, so what if they were unhappy in their hearts? If you can do it, then do it. If you can do it, then go and stop the sacred clan's land gods. Since you can't, then watch this group of people standing at the peak of the godless continent do what they want to do. This was the way of the world. There was no right or wrong, only your own choice. Sect leader hasn't come out of seclusion yet? At this moment, in the Chuanzun sect, Lu Qingshun looked worried. He had already noticed that there were more than a dozen extremely powerful auras approaching the Chuanzun sect. Without even thinking, it must be Lin Lang Wentian's group. Sect leader hasn't responded. Mo Xingtian sighed. Mu Yud is also in seclusion, and he won't wake up no matter how much I call him. Then this battle. How should we fight? Lu Qingshun frowned. Looking at the current situation, the Chuanzun sect was in a hopeless situation. Boom! As his voice fell, an explosion came from the mountain gate of the Chuanzun sect. Then, the sect-protecting formation was shattered, and the Chuanzuan sect was revealed to the world. Lu Qingchen and Mo Xingtian rushed out immediately, just in time to see Linlang Wentian's group standing outside the mountain gate. There weren't that many of them, only 13 of them, but every single one of them was a supreme being. The head of the Jin family, Jin Yunlu, was a demigod. The Heavenly Star Sect Master was a demigod. The sect leader of the Supreme Joint Faction, a demigod. Linlang inquires the heavens, above the demigod realm, infinitely close to being a land deity. The other 9 were all at peak Deva Fifth Blight. This lineup was enough to wipe out everything, unless a god from the land intervened. However, there were no land gods in the Chuanzuan sect. The only strongest person, Mu Yud, was in secluded cultivation and couldn't fight at all. From the looks of it, Chuanzuan sect was going to come to an end today. Kill yourself? Linlang Wentian said softly, his voice cold. Since I'm here today, I won't leave anyone in the Chuanzuan sect alive, nor will I give you the chance to surrender. What a joke! Chuanzuan sect will either fight to the death or never surrender. Lu Qingchen raised his eyebrows, looked at Mo Xingtian, and asked, "Are you afraid of death?" Death? If it weren't for the leader, I would have been dead long ago. Mo Xingtian said, "You've already died once. Why would you be afraid of dying a second time? Then, let's do it." Lu Qingchen's eyes narrowed, and his aura erupted like a rainbow, piercing through the clouds. Mo Xingtian hid his figure and didn't release any aura, but everyone knew that he had also made his move. "Everyone, are you here to destroy my boss's foundation?" At this moment, a young man with purple aura all over his body flew over from afar. Before he even arrived, his tyrannical aura had already spread out. Moreover, there was a domineering aura that was like a tornado that swept across the area. "Wakako, you really didn't ascend. Wakako the tyrant!" Many people exclaimed. They had long heard of Wakako's name. "Leave these 5 people to me." Wakako was the tyrant. Whether it was his actions or his words, they were all domineering. He pointed at the 5 heavenly decay stage 5 powerhouses and said mockingly, "I'm going to fight 5 people by myself. I don't think the demigods and pavilion masters will interfere, right? You're just an ant. We won't bother to attack you." Jin Yunliu's face was full of contempt. "So what if you're the tyrant? You're courting death by fighting 5 people at the same level as you." "That's not necessarily true," Wakako said softly. With a boom, he charged out like an ancient beast. Linlang Wentian didn't say anything and just stood outside the mountain gate. In his eyes, this battle didn't need to be fought at all. However, he didn't mind watching the show. Of course, he was also wary of one person, and that was Mu Yud. If that guy came out of seclusion and fought with his life on the line, Linlang Wentian would have a headache. As for Jiang Chun, Linlang Wentian didn't take him to heart at all. That was because he knew very well that no matter how strong Jiang Chen's talent was, it was impossible for him to break through to the demigod realm in such a short time. Meanwhile, Linlang Wentian was infinitely close to being a terrestrial god. Even if Jiang Chun broke through to the demigod realm, he wouldn't be afraid. Just like that, Linlang Wentian and the others stood at the side and watched the battle. They looked very calm and comfortable. They all knew that if nothing unexpected happened, they would definitely win this battle. If the Chuanzuan sect is destroyed today, Jiang Chun will die. If Jiang Chun dies, wouldn't it be very boring for me to stay in this world? Suddenly, a black shadow floated over. He attacked very quickly, like a cold light cutting through the void, flashing and disappearing in a flash. In an instant, a Deva's Blight powerhouse froze a second ago. Then, the top of his head shattered, and his soul was severed. His soul even exploded, and he died on the spot. "Oh, a demigod?" At that moment, Jin Yunlu and the others exclaimed. To be able to do that, the person's cultivation must be a demigod. However, in the Chuanzuan sect, apart from Jiang Chun and Mu Yud, who else had reached the demigod realm? "It's you, Mu Xingyan?" Linlang Wentian narrowed his eyes. he saw Mu Xingyun hiding in the dark. He was very surprised. Mu Xingyun was clearly Jiang Qin's enemy. Why would he help the Chuanzun sect at this moment? Could it be that the two of them had reconciled? Don't be confused. I just want him to die in my hands, Mu Xingyun said. When he's at his peak, and I'm at my peak, the two of us will fight to the death. That's what I'm thinking. You alone can't change the outcome today. Jin Yunlu raised his eyebrows. With a golden sword in hand, he rushed into the void and headed straight for Mu Xingyun. He alone can't change the outcome, but what if there are two of them? Suddenly, a frivolous voice came from afar, and a lotus flower bloomed in the sky. Chapter 643. A lotus bloomed, and 9-colored light flew. When it bloomed, 72 lotus leaves appeared. 72 lotuses. Who? As far as I know, there is only one person in the world who has 72 lotuses. The ancestor of the Chong and family, Chong and Chang'e, later known as Nian Chang'e. At this moment, everyone stared at the lotus with nervous expressions. Perhaps they did not expect that Nian Chang'e, who had disappeared for so long, was still in the godless continent. Moreover, his cultivation had already broken through to the demigod realm. One lotus and one person came from the sky, like a banished immortal descending to the mortal world. His aura surged, and when his eyes opened and closed, there seemed to be thousands of Daos floating in the bottom of his eyes. Nian Chang'e, so what if there are two demigods? Do you think you can change today's outcome? The sect master of the supreme sect raised his eyebrows. I'm waiting here. What can you do? What? Nian Chang'e smiled playfully and said, do you still remember that sentence, whether the world is in chaos or not? I, Chang'an, have the final say? That was in the past. The sect master of the Heavenly Star sect rebuked angrily. Do you really think the Chang'an family is still here? You are the only one left in the Chang'an family. How can a single person contend against all of us? Contend? Nian Chang'e seemed a little surprised, then laughed and said, everyone, I think you have misunderstood. I am not here to contend with you. What do you mean? Are you here to surrender? Everyone was stunned, and for a moment they did not understand what Nian Chang'e meant. However, Nian Chang'e's next sentence made the group furious. What is the word contend? Today, I am here to kill you. Nian Chang'e's eyes narrowed. I have never taken you seriously, and you do not have the strength to fight with me. This word, contend, naturally can't be said. Only when the strength is equal can there be the word contend. Nian Chang'e said, and in my eyes, I am a dragon, and you are ants. Presumptuous. Nian Chang'e, you are too arrogant. At this moment, the sect master of the Heavenly Star sect and the sect master of the Supreme sect attacked together, like fierce tigers, rushing towards Nian Chang'e. Have you seen flowers bloom? Have you ever asked why the flowers are so red? The blood-stained lotus flowers are even brighter. Nian Chang'e said softly. His hands pressed down lightly, and the 72 lotuses bloomed with multicolored light. Under the multicolored light, there seemed to be endless power surging, and there were even many illusory figures floating up and down. There were also all kinds of weapons that manifested, and the heroic spirits of the previous generations appeared. 72 lotuses, 72 spells, were all used by Nian Chang'e. There was no collision or resistance. The moment the 72 lotuses bloomed, the Heavenly Star Sect Master and the Supreme Combined Sect Master were submerged. When the light disappeared, the two of them no longer existed in this world. I've said it before. I'm not here today to fight against you. I'm here to kill. Nian Chang'e said softly as her gaze locked onto Linlang Wentian. You are no match for me. Linlang Wentian shook her head. You should understand that even if all the people I brought here die today, as long as I don't die, the outcome will not change. Infinitely close to becoming a land god, Nian Chang'e raised his eyebrows. Today, I will use these 72 lotuses to defy the heavens. With the power of a demigod, I will fight you to the death. Fight to the death? Are you worthy? Lin Lang Wentian said contemptuously. Now, the only person who can make me afraid is that stinky Taoist. It's a pity that he is in seclusion and can't come out. Do you know why I haven't made a move yet? It's because I'm waiting for that damn Taoist to come out. Lin Lang Wentian said, now so much time has passed. Since he hasn't come out yet, it means that he can't come out. Since he can't come out, then today's battle should end. No one can make me afraid anymore. After saying that, Lin Lang Wentian turned around with his back, facing Nian Chang'e. Then he raised his palm, and a burst of divine power erupted from his palm. His palm stretched out and slowly fell across the void. The chi of the great path rose and fell, and the divine power burned like divine light. He wanted to destroy the Chuanzun sect with one palm. At this moment, all the disciples and elders in the Chuanzun sect were moved. They could not resist Lin Lang Wentian's palm. Do you regret joining the Chuanzun sect? A disciple asked the person beside him with a trace of fear in his eyes. No. The person beside him shook his head. Although there was fear in his eyes, there was no sign of regret. Life and death were unpredictable. Everything in the world might be predestined, or it might not be. However, one should not regret what they had decided on. I have no regrets. I have no regrets even if I die with the Chuanzun sect. At this moment, everyone in the Chuanzun sect shouted. Although they were afraid of death, they did not regret it. How dare you? Nian Chang'e shouted, and the 72 lotuses bloomed again. The 72 types of supernatural powers were like an upside-down galaxy, suppressing Lin Lang Wentian. Bang! However, Lin Lang Wentian did not care about Nian Chang'e. He raised his hand and waved, dispersing the galaxy formed by the 72 types of supernatural powers. Moreover, a palm print was like a dragon, bombarding Nian Chang'e's body. Fresh blood spurted out from Nian Chang'e's mouth. His body shook, and blood flowed out from his 7 orifices. However, he did not fall. He wiped the blood off his face and staggered towards the glittering jewel-seeking heaven. He could not watch the Chuanzun sect be destroyed like this. He could not watch Jiang Qin be killed. Sigh. I have no choice this time. I can't stop it. At this moment, Mu Xingyun held Jin Yunliu's head and stood in the void near the Chuanzun sect. He was very strong, but he had tried his best. Facing Lin Lang Wentian, who was infinitely close to becoming a land god, he really had no choice. Are the disciples of this era all so pessimistic? I'm not dead yet. Just as the palm was about to cover the Chuanzun sect, a slightly lazy voice came from the back mountain of the Chuanzun sect. Then a young man walked out of a cave. He brushed the dust off his body, looked up at the sky, and curled his lips. Infinitely close to becoming a land god? That means you're not a land god yet. Since you're not, where did you get the confidence to destroy my Chuanzun sect? The young man said contemptuously. Sect leader? Jiang Chun? Boss? At this moment, everyone was shocked. Even Lin Lang Wentian was moved. He thought that Jiang Chun was also in seclusion and would not come out. He even thought that Jiang Chun might have run away long ago. However, who would have thought that Jiang Chun had always been in the Chuanzun sect? He also did not expect that Jiang Chun would come out of seclusion in such a manner. Supreme, I'm a demigod. You're above a demigod. Do you dare to fight me? Jiang Chun stared at Lin Lang Wentian and raised his palm at the same time. The mystic light in his palm was like a long dragon, directly shaking off Lin Lang Wentian's descending palm. Chapter 644. A demigod challenging a demigod? This was something that had never happened before. Moreover, Lin Lang Wentian's cultivation was infinitely close to that of a land god. The gap between Jiang Chun and Lin Lang Wentian was like a chasm in everyone's eyes that was difficult to cross. However, when they saw Jiang Chun's confident expression, they began to doubt it again. Even Lin Lang Wentian was stunned for a moment, and he suddenly felt a little nervous. Could it be that his combat strength? Lin Lang Wentian thought, but his expression did not change, and he would not retreat. At this point, it was time to settle the grudge between him and Jiang Chun. Speaking of which, the source of the grudge between the Martial Pavilion and Jiang Chun was that Jiang Chun had crippled the cultivation of one of Linlang Wentian's illegitimate sons. This could be said to be a small matter. However, who would have thought that such a small matter would develop to such an extent? Perhaps this was the so-called rising of a wave, the tide beating the shore. All of you back off. Between you and me, only one of us can survive today, Linlang Wentian said in a deep voice. Even if I die here today, I will not retreat. That's exactly what I want. Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, and the divine light on his body shone brightly. The power of a demigod surged on his body like a tide. He entered the void and avoided the crowd, worried that the fluctuations of the battle would implicate the entire Chuanzuan sect. Linlang Wentian's face was gloomy as he took a step forward and followed closely behind. Outside the Chuanzuan sect, Wakako, Nianchanga, and the others looked solemn. They were really worried for Jiang Chun. With the cultivation of a demigod, he was fighting an ultimate powerhouse who was infinitely close to a land god. Did he have a chance of winning this battle? Where's Mu Yud? Why hasn't he come out yet? Nianchanga asked. Don't mention it. He's like a living dead. Lu Qingchen sighed. He was seriously injured in the battle back then. Sigh. Nianchanga sighed. If Mu Yud could fight, Linlang Wentian would not be a big problem. Although they might not be able to defeat him, Linlang Wentian would definitely retreat. But now, this was a battle of life and death. At this moment, in the void thousands of miles away from Chuanzuan sect, Jiang Chun stood tall and straight like an ancient tree. Divine light shone from his body, making him look like a brilliant sun. The heavenly halberd lay horizontally in his right hand, and an aura of calamity filled the air. This was the power of the 6 calamities. On the other side, Linlang Wentian was barehanded. Her gaze was focused, and divine power surged from her body. Her hair danced in the wind, and she looked like a monarch. She looked even more like a war god who had gone through hundreds of battles. It's time to end this. Yes, the two of them whispered to each other. This battle had finally arrived. However, what made Linlang Wentian puzzled was, what did Jiang Chun have to fight with him? Just based on the cultivation of a demigod? What kind of joke was this? Was that enough? Fuse. Just as glittering jewel inquiring heaven was feeling puzzled, Jiang Chun spoke softly, following which 2 explosive sounds rang out from within his body. In an instant, 2 illusory figures of deities appeared. They were the physical bodies of Heavenly Origin Deity King and Heavenly Profound Deity King. At this moment, the 2 physical bodies crumbled and turned into specks of divine light that entered Jiang Chen's body. The divine light merged with Jiang Chen's body and soul. In a few breaths' time, Jiang Chen's cultivation soared and reached the level of a demigod. However, in terms of aura, Jiang Chun was still a notch weaker than Linlang Wentian. Is this your final trump card? Linlang Wentian asked. Then she sneered and said, It's not enough. I think it's enough. Jiang Chun whispered. The heavenly halberd in his hand swept across, and a scarlet light that seemed to have come from hell shot out. The light evolved along the way, turning into an Azura, an evil spirit, and finally a blood-red dragon. Fight! Linlang Wentian roared. She clenched her fists and blasted them out. Boom! With 2 explosions, the blood-red dragon was shattered. At the same time, a fist light seemed to have broken through the shackles of space. In a flash, it rushed to Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun reacted quickly. His figure moved horizontally, and at the same time, he stabbed the heavenly halberd in his hand into the void. His hands formed a series of seals, and cryptic runes floated. 6 calamities, heavenly calamity. At this moment, Jiang Chun didn't hesitate at all. He exerted the strongest move of the 6 disasters, heavenly calamities. Heavenly calamity. As soon as he finished speaking, dark clouds gathered in the sky. Lightning flashed, and a blazing fire fell from the sky. Rain poured down. If one looked closely, the raindrops were as sharp as needles. They were so sharp that even the power of the great Tao was pierced. Is this the 6 calamities that you cultivated when you were heavenly origin deity king? Linlang Wentian raised her eyebrows and shook her head. It's hard to hurt me with this move alone. Take this move first. Jiangchen kept forming seals. The heavenly halberd actually turned into divine light and seemed to be breaking apart. Next, phantoms of the heavenly halberd appeared beside Jiangchen. It was as if thousands of swords were shot out at the same time. They carried an endless and terrifying aura and suppressed Linlang Wentian. How can you hurt me with this kind of power? Linlang Wentian roared. She clenched her fists and danced in front of her. Her attacks were wide open, and there seemed to be a big river flowing between her hands. As the big river surged, the heavy rain that filled the sky was scattered. The lightning subsided, and even the scorching flames were extinguished. Her hands pushed out like the waves of the sea, obliterating the phantoms of the heavenly halberd that filled the sky. Is this the 6 calamities? Too weak. Linlang Wentian shouted and disappeared on the spot. Her speed was extremely fast, like a flash of light. When she appeared again, she was already in front of Jiangchen. So fast. Jiangchen narrowed his eyes. Before he could react, he was hit by Linlang Wentian's punch. After this punch, Jiangchen's body shook, and many cracks appeared on his body. They looked like a spider web, and they covered his whole body. At the same time, his soul was throbbing, as if it was about to be annihilated. Linlang Wentian was very arrogant, not giving Jiangchen a chance to resist. She grabbed Jiangchen's shoulder and said, "Feel the power that is infinitely close to that of a god on land." Then, she pulled violently, and Jiangchen's left hand was broken. Even a few of his sternum were broken. Puff! At this moment, Jiangchen coughed up blood and hurriedly retreated. Along the way, he burned his blood essence to rebuild his left hand. He also used the power of his divine body and the immortal fire to heal his injuries in an instant. Screech! Then a long screech was heard. The immortal bird Taoist soul floated behind Jiangchen, and flames swept out. This was the heaven-burning fire. So what if you have a Taoist soul? I have stood tall on the godless continent for many years. I control the martial pavilion and the godless continent. My personal strength is not something you can imagine. Linlang Wentian said. Her body trembled, and a large black flag appeared from her body. "Wan Junkie, this is your Taoist soul." Jiangchen exclaimed in surprise. Such a doctrine soul hadn't appeared for many eras, and it had almost been forgotten. This was one of the top Taoist souls. Chapter 645. In a certain era, there was a person who possessed the Tao spirit of the 10,000 army flag. That person had commanded the armies of the world and ruled the godless continent for tens of thousands of years. However, very few people knew about the 10,000 army flag's remarkable ability. They only knew that the 10,000 army flag could command tens of thousands of armies. As for what kind of army it commanded, very few people knew. However, Jiangchen knew very well that the army commanded by the 10,000 army flag was not the kind that people thought it was. It was an existence that could command the Tao army. What was the Tao army? They were the invisible, pure souls within the great Tao. It was a carrier of the Tao. It was very mysterious and ethereal. It was difficult for ordinary people to see it. Even Jiangchen had never seen it before. He only knew that the Tao army was very strong. A mere immortal bird Tao spirit dares to be so arrogant in front of me. The 10,000 army flag? Linlang Wentian's face was full of contempt. He waved the 10,000 army flag with both hands. Instantly, the surrounding Tao energy surged. Immediately after, blurry figures appeared in the great path, like generals. They carried the Tao energy, but they seemed to be illusory. They rushed out of the Tao and rushed into Linlang Wentian's body. In an instant, Linlang Wentian's aura skyrocketed. He was just a little bit away from breaking through the shackles and becoming a god of the land, with the Tao and the army following me. How are you going to fight me? Linlang Wentian raised his eyebrows. He carried the flag on his shoulder and rushed out. This time his speed was even faster. In fact, Jiangchen could not even see his figure. Bang! Jiang Chen didn't know what was going on, but he felt like he had suffered a heavy blow on his back. The dreadful power almost destroyed his soul. As for his physical body, it was blasted into powder. Not even a trace of it was left. Screech. However, in the next moment, the immortal bird Dao's spirit let out a long cry. Flames surged, and Jiang Chen was reborn from the fire. His physical body was reconstructed. Let's see how many times you can reconstruct yourself. Linlang Wentian's eyes narrowed. His figure was like a ghost, and his speed was extremely fast. He didn't give Jiang Chen any chance to fight back. His fist struck out again and again, causing Jiang Chen's body to explode again and again. After half an incense stick's worth of time, Jiang Chen's body continued to explode and reforge. The power of the immortal bird Dao soul continued to weaken. Now, the bird's Dao soul dimmed as it was forced back into Jiang Chen's soul. This time, can you still reassemble? Linlang Wentian's face was full of contempt as he laughed maniacally. In the end, I've won this battle. No, there was no suspense in this battle. I could have won. Facing such an arrogant Linlang Wentian, Jiang Chen spat out a mouthful of blood and said softly, "You're too confident." What? Linlang Wentian narrowed her eyes and immediately discovered a clue. At some unknown point in time, runes had appeared all around him, beneath his feet, and around him. Within the formation patterns, there were also restriction runes. In the depths of the restriction runes, there were even talismans flickering like stars. Formation restriction talismans? Linlang Wentian exclaimed. He didn't know when Jiang Chen had set up all of this. Every time my body explodes because of you, my blood and flesh will turn into formation patterns, runes, and talismans. Jiang Chen said mockingly. Now, I don't know how many times I've been blown up by you before I've completed the formation, talismans, and restriction. With that said, Jiang Chen waved his hand, and a barrier rose up. Like a dreamlike bubble, it trapped Linlang Wentian inside. Life slaughtering formation. Origin transformation restriction. Dark destruction talisman. Jiang Chen shouted and formed seals with both hands, directly activating the three great formations. At this moment, violent power erupted within the formation. Like a heavenly punishment, it drowned Linlang Wentian. Under the explosion, one could vaguely hear Linlang Wentian's screams. Obviously, the formation that Jiang Chen had set up worked. However, as time passed, Jiang Chen's expression became more and more ugly. It was because the screams in the formation never stopped. This meant that Linlang Wentian was still alive, and this kind of formation wouldn't last for very long. You can't kill me. Half an hour later, a long howl was heard. Then, the formation collapsed and Linlang Wentian appeared in front of Jiang Chen, covered in blood. His appearance was very miserable. Only half of his body was left, and even a part of his soul was obliterated. His soul was dim and lightless. Even so, Linlang Wentian was still alive. At this moment, Linlang Wentian started to breathe. The essence of heaven and earth turned into a tide and was absorbed into his body. With the essence in his body and the accompaniment of thousands of soldiers, Linlang Wentian's injuries were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Damn it! Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. The Fontian halberd in his hand slashed out, and a mysterious light split the void. It was as if it was going to split open the sky. If you had set up another formation, I might have really died. Linlang Wentian also had a lingering fear in his heart. It was a pity that he was still alive. Those three formations didn't take his life. Now that he had come out, Jiang Chen had no chance of winning. Boom! With a loud explosion, Linlang Wentian punched out and directly sent Jiang Chen's Fengtian halberd flying. Then he dragged his injured body and grabbed Jiang Chen's neck. You deserve to die, Linlang Wentian said coldly. He didn't expect that with his strength that was infinitely close to that of a god on land, he would need to expend so much effort to kill Jiang Chen. He used to run amok. Why is he so miserable now? Jiang Haoran, this is a member of your Jiang family. Aren't you going to help him? Help! Suddenly, three young men appeared in the distance, each of them surging with demonic aura. These three people were Jiang Haoran, Lu Songyang, and Chun Lu Dao. Let's go! Jiang Chen's eyes were red as he gestured for the three of them to leave quickly. However, in the next moment, demonic aura erupted from the three of them. Like an upside-down black river, it poured into Jiang Chen's body. Ah! Jiang Chen screamed as ghostly cries came from his body. At the same time, an extremely violent force erupted and actually shook off Lin Lang Wentian's palm. See that? We are demons. This is evil. Lu Songyang said mockingly. The Jiang family, one Jiang Haoran has become a demon, and the other Jiang Chun has become an evil spirit. Interesting. This is a great evil spirit. I wonder if he can defeat Lin Lang Wentian after his evil spirit erupts. Chun Lu Dao frowned. Jiang Haoran heard that and shuddered. He muttered, who cares if he can win or not? He has become a great evil spirit anyway. Let's go first so that we don't get hurt accidentally. Back then, the Empress had helped to seal the evil spirit in Jiang Chen's body. Now, Jiang Haoran and the other two saw that Jiang Chen was no match for them. They used demonic aura to undo the seal in Jiang Chen's body, causing the evil spirit in his body to erupt again. At this moment, Jiang Chen's body was emitting gray fog. The evil spirit was soaring to the sky, and the trace of clarity in his eyes was gradually disappearing. Chapter 646. Back then, because of Mu Yud's mistake, Jiang Chun became a great evil spirit. Empress Ho took action and suppressed the evil spirit in Jiang Chen's body. But now, the evil spirit in his body was triggered, and Jiang Chun became an evil spirit again. Of course, Jiang Haoran and the other two could not be blamed. They knew very well that in today's battle, if Jiang Chun did not become an evil spirit, he would not be a match for Lin Lang Wentian. Only when he became an evil spirit, with the support of the evil spirit, Jiang Chun had the strength to fight. However, they did not know that a second before Jiang Chun became an evil spirit, he roared in his heart, 3 demons. Are you tricking me? One must know that in today's battle, since Jiang Chun took action, he was confident. Although he might not be able to defeat Lin Lang Wentian, he would not die. After all, Jiang Chun had merged the bodies of 2 divine kings, Tian Yuan and Tian Xian. He had a trump card, but who would have thought that before he could use his trump card, the evil spirit in his body was triggered by Jiang Haoran and the other 2. At this moment, Jiang Chun wanted to cry, but had no tears. You think you can fight me just because you became an evil spirit? You underestimate me too much. Lin Lang Wentian raised his eyebrows. In his eyes, so what if he became an evil spirit? Under the absolute difference in cultivation, even if he died and became an evil spirit, he would not be a match for him. However, it was a pity that his thinking was too naive. Boom! At this moment, Jiang Chen roared. The evil spirit in his body was like a gray fog that rushed into the sky. He threw a punch, the 6 paths of reincarnation fist. It was like a ball of light that not only carried the power of the 6 paths, but also a terrifying evil spirit. Under the punch, Lin Lang Wentian raised his hand to block it. When the fist and palm collided, there seemed to be a shocking explosion of thunder. Then 6 rays of fist radiance exploded, shattering Lin Lang Wentian's palm and then bombarding his chest. Poof! After a muffled groan, Lin Lang Wentian staggered a few steps back, his eyes full of shock. He could not understand why Jiang Chen's combat strength had soared so much after becoming an evil spirit when there was such a huge gap between his cultivation and his. Could it be that Jiang Chen was really going to defy the heavens and kill a god today? Impossible. I'm infinitely close to becoming a god. You're just a demigod. How can you fight me? Even if I become an evil spirit, Lin Lang Wentian, can still suppress you. Lin Lang Wentian roared and waved the 10,000 army flag, and the army The power of the great path spread out from his body like ripples. When he clenched his fists, one could see an army floating above his hands. The next moment, it could be seen that Lin Lang when Tian punched with both fists, and the radiance of her fists turned into a great army that was about to engulf Jiangchen. Roar! Then, in the end, A's a demon spirit's body, Lin Lang, S, and An's spirit summoning? Lin Lang when Tian was shocked. Jiangchen still knew how to use this method at such a moment. Summoning spirits with baleful aura. What kind of plaything could he summon? At the very least, Lin Lang Wentian had never seen or heard of using evil spirits to summon a battle spirit. This is the spirit of an ancient evil spirit? After a few breaths, Lin Lang Wentian cried out in surprise. That was because a man with a very tall body, like a mountain, came out of it, and Lin Lang Wentian's body was emitting gray fog, and even his eyes and pupils were gray. He strode out with a broken spear in his hand. With a shake, Lin Lang Wentian's fist radiance was shattered. Even the armies summoned by the 10,000 army flag was reduced to ashes by the spear. Kill! At that moment, Jiangchen roared, and the ancient evil spirit he summoned was even more ferocious. His body was too huge, and when he walked, the surrounding void shook. The spear swept across, and evil spirits soared into the sky. Like a gray mystic light, it was about to cut open the endless void. Damn it! Evil spirits can also summon spirits. Lin Lang Wentian cursed. This was the first time he had encountered such a thing. He glared at Jiangchen, and the thought of retreating emerged in his heart. That was because he knew very well that if Jiangchen continued to be corroded by the evil spirit, it would not be long before his body collapsed. At that time, he could choose not to fight, but Jiangchen would die. However, just as he was about to retreat, he realized that gray stone pillars had appeared around him. Between each of the stone pillars, there were black chains of runes entwined around them. After they were connected together, they enveloped this area of the void like a cage. You've already lost consciousness after becoming an evil spirit. When did you cast this forbidden techniques cage? Lin Lang Wentian exclaimed. How could a person who had lost consciousness set up a forbidden techniques cage? Who told you that I've completely lost consciousness? Jiangchen's face was ferocious, but there was a flame burning in the depths of his pupils. That was the flame of the myriad transformations heavenly lamp. Using the flame of the myriad transformations heavenly lamp to protect the last trace of consciousness in the depths of his soul. You haven't lost consciousness? At this moment, Lin Lang Wentian felt that things had gotten out of hand and was no longer in his control. He had become a great evil spirit and still retained a trace of consciousness. Could he really beat him? You're only infinitely close to becoming a god on land, but in the end, you're still a demigod. Jiangchen said mockingly. His voice was very ear-piercing because his current consciousness was very weak. Sometimes, even the flames of the myriad transformations heavenly lamp were swaying, as if they would be annihilated by the evil spirit. Desolation! Suddenly, Jiangchen let out a long howl, and a long sword appeared in his hand. Then, he rushed out and swept down. The cold light of the sword pierced through the void, and the might of the sword light illuminated the entire godless continent. On this day, there were mortals who knelt down, thinking that a god had descended from the 9 heavens. On this day, there were sword cultivators who roared into the sky. Seeing this sword light, they broke through their shackles. On this day, the mountains and rivers shook, and the sun, moon, and stars dimmed because of this sword. It was also on this day that Lin Lang Wentian's head was cut off for the first time since he started cultivating. At this moment, in the void, Lin Lang Wentian's head was separated from his body, but he was not completely dead. He reconstructed his physical body and fled into the distance at the first moment. This time, he was really afraid. How can the name of the sect master of the Chuanzuan sect be used for nothing? Jiangchen's voice was still ear-piercing and very low. However, this voice was filled with confidence. In the next moment, In this void, spells, sword lights, saber lights, formations, barriers, restrictions, talismans, musical notes, sharp arrows came out layer by layer. It was as if the sky was being split open, and it was more like there were bright fireworks blooming in this place. As all living beings in the world can see, today, I, Jiang Chun, will send off the pavilion master of the martial pavilion. Linlang Wentian, have a safe journey. These two sentences resounded throughout the entire godless continent. Everyone saw that in that area of the void, brilliant and dazzling to the extreme. However, they could not see Linlang Wentian, a resplendent firework, a glorious era, a peerless person of a generation, ended in the extreme. Just as Jiang Chun said, Linlang Wentian, have a safe journey. Chapter 647. The grudge between Jiang Chun and Linlang Wentian was finally over. No one would have thought that a person who was infinitely close to becoming a land god would actually be killed by Jiang Chun. However, everyone knew that if Jiang Chun hadn't become a fiend, this battle would have been over. Even if Jiang Chun used the power of Tian Yuan and Tian Xian, it would still be very difficult to fight against Linlang Wentian. After all, that was only a part of his strength. As for fiends, Jiang Chun could use all of them. At this moment, everyone watched the fireworks dissipate and looked at the void that was still rippling with waves, their hearts filled with emotions. An overlord of a generation, not to become a god, but to unify the godless continent. But in the end, it was destroyed. Someone sighed, feeling unworthy for Linlang Wentian. There were also people who smiled bitterly. Perhaps this was the most difficult thing to understand in the world. She could have ascended to become a god, but because of a trace of obsession, she insisted on competing for hegemony on the godless continent. In the end, not even a handful of yellow soil was left. From now on, for a long time, Chuanzuan's sect can be considered the true overlord of the godless continent. After more than 3,000 years, Chuanzuan's sect has once again reached the top because of one person. However, what was the use of Chuanzuan's sect unifying the godless continent at this moment? In a few years, the land god of the sacred clan would be born. At that time, who could contend against him? Jiang Chun had become a fiend, could use fiendish energy, and his combat strength was formidable. However, when encountering a real land god, was Jiang Chun's strength enough? He's gone? At this moment, many people saw that in the void, Jiang Chun's entire body was shrouded in gray fog, and the last trace of clear consciousness in his eyes was fading. The myriad transformation heavenly lamp couldn't protect Jiang Chun for too long. After becoming a great fiend, the fiendish energy corroded the soul. The myriad transformation heavenly lamp could only save his life, but it couldn't keep Jiang Chun awake. He looked around deeply, as if he saw Chuanzuan's sect, Nian Chang'e, and the others. He smiled, then turned around, leaving the world with a lonely back view. He entered the chaos and went somewhere unknown. Perhaps he would never come out in this lifetime, because he was afraid. He was afraid that after losing consciousness, he would kill the innocent. He was even more afraid of hurting the people around him. To Jiang Chun, leaving this place was perhaps the best choice. 3,000 years ago, he was the king. 3,000 years later, he is still the king of the godless continent. Unfortunately, the world has made fools of us, and a god of the land has appeared. It's a pity that I've become a great evil spirit, and it's hard to turn back. As everyone sighed in regret, Jiang Chun's figure gradually disappeared. Finally, he stepped into the primal chaos. Boss, Jiang Chun? At this moment, everyone in the sect was filled with grief. Yes, Jiang Chun had won this battle, but he had sacrificed too much. After becoming a great evil spirit, there was no turning back. Would she be able to see him again in this lifetime? Would he be able to regain consciousness in this lifetime? Perhaps he wouldn't. At the very least, since ancient times, those who had become great fiends were like walking corpses, their consciousness no longer existing. Damn it, I refuse to accept this. Why? There are so many living beings in the world. Why did my boss sacrifice so much? Why? Wakako roared. His eyes were red, and he felt that something was wrong with this world. Even Nyan Changa began to doubt. When did the world become like this? Everyone wanted to live, but why didn't those who wanted to live work hard themselves? Could it be that when danger came, the strong had to hold up the sky? However, everyone started off as a weakling, one step at a time. When Jiangchen was still weak, was there anyone who helped him like this? Was there anyone who was willing to hold up the sky for him? This is the world that my boss fought for. All the major families, sects, and legacy forces in the world come to my sect and kneel down within one day. On this day, Wakako completely went berserk. His heart was filled with resentment, unwillingness, and even more grief. His long roar spread throughout the world. He was not Jiang Chun. He was the tyrant. Jiang Chun was gone, and he wanted to use his own means to protect Jiang Chun. Sigh. Nyan Changa sighed, came to Wakako's side, patted him on the shoulder, and said, "There's not much time left. I'll leave Chuenzin's sect to you. What about you? What are you going to do?" Wakako asked. In this era, there aren't many people who can become land gods in a short period of time. Perhaps I'm the only one left now. Nyan Changa smiled bitterly. He's gone, so the rest will naturally be left to me. Is there enough time? Wakako asked. What do you think? Nyan Changa's expression became more bitter, and he shrugged, saying, "At most, I'll die." After saying that, Nyan Changa did not stay any longer. He stepped out and left this place. In the next day, all the sects, families, and legacy forces in the entire godless continent came to Chuenzin's sect. There was a sea of people, and everyone knelt down. Wakako stood in the main hall of Chuenzin's sect. He did not sit on the throne because he knew that he was protecting this country for Jiang Chun. The hierarch's position was Jiang Chen's. It was his boss's. This position is now empty. Do you know why? Wakako said coldly. As soon as these words came out, the people kneeling outside trembled all over. They all knew that if it weren't for Jiang Chun, the land god would have opened the door of darkness a long time ago and destroyed the godless continent. From now on, Chuenzin's sect will be the leader, and Jiang Chun will be honored. From now on, Chuenzin's sect will be the leader, and Jiang Chun will be honored. At this moment, everyone cheered. It was also at this moment that the godless continent was completely unified. Heh! Wakako snorted coldly. He didn't want to say much. He just wanted the world to know that the current world was given to them by Jiang Chun. The so-called peace was also given to them by Jiang Chun. Everything calmed down, and everything seemed to be over. However, everyone knew that in a few years, the real disaster would erupt. Some people seemed to submit to Chuenzin's sect, but they sneered in their hearts. So what if they were unified? In a few years, when the land god returned, would Chuenzin's sect be safe? "Boss, can you still come back?" Wakako said softly, closed the door of the main hall, and sat under the throne. He was going to go into seclusion. He was going to guard this place until Jiang Chun returned. Sigh. I'm trapped here. At the same time, at the edge of the chaos. This place was empty, dark, nothingness, and silent. Jiang Chun stood there, expressionless, and gray fog lingered around his body. His consciousness was suppressed in the depths of his soul by the baleful aura, and he couldn't control this body. How should I resolve this baleful aura? If I can't resolve it, will I be like this for the rest of my life? Wait for death? Jiang Chun let out a long sigh. His soul floated in the spiritual world, surrounded by gray, baleful aura. It was like a cage that he couldn't get out of. Beside him, the thousand-change heavenly torch flickered faintly. An ray of light enveloped Jiang Chen's soul, preserving Jiang Chen's last wisp of consciousness and pure soul. Otherwise, Jiang Chen's soul would be corroded by the baleful aura. Chapter 648. In the dark spiritual world, only the ever-changing heavenly lamp accompanied Jiang Chun. The power of the ever-changing heavenly lamp was extremely powerful, but in the face of the murderous aura, it could only protect a trace of Jiang Chen's soul. It could not even take care of the undying bird Dao soul. Looking carefully, one could see that the undying bird Dao soul was in the gray fog, its body burning with flames. But in its origin, a trace of murderous aura had entered and was eroding it. "Are you all right?" Jiang Chen asked through holy awareness. "Not good," the undying bird whispered. "But for me, it might not be a disaster." "Oh, why?" Jiang Chen asked curiously. After being eroded by the murderous aura, it was good enough that the undying bird Dao soul did not die. It might not be a disaster? Could it be a blessing? In a desperate situation, it's not impossible for you to be reborn again. The undying bird said, "If you are reborn again, you might be able to use my power to break through the shackles and become a land god." However, when Jiang Chun heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched. He did not believe it and even started to worry about himself. The undying bird was his Dao soul and was compatible with his soul. If the undying bird was reborn, Jiang Chun would also be reborn. At that time, if the rebirth failed, even Jiang Chun would die. Don't act recklessly. If you don't have full confidence, don't talk about rebirth, Jiang Chun said in a deep voice. "Do I have a choice now?" The undying bird curled its lips and mocked. "You speak as if you have a choice." Jiang Chun was speechless. Just as the undying bird said, he had no choice now. It was already a blessing to be able to maintain this trace of consciousness. He was now trapped in a cage and could not get out at all, either live or die together. The undying bird sighed. "Wait for me. Other than waiting for you, what else can I do?" Jiang Chun said with a wry smile. At the edge of the chaos, Jiang Chun stood alone. The chaos around him was surging like a tide. No one would come here, and no one would dare to come here, much less approach Jiang Chun. Of course, no one would be able to find Jiang Chun now. Just like that, time slowly passed. Jiang Chun was still trapped in the soul cage. As for his physical body, it had always stood at the edge of the primal chaos. As time passed, one day, Jiang Chen's body began to tremble. Even his soul began to throb. In the gray soul world, a blue thunderbolt suddenly appeared. Like a flame, it cut through the sky and illuminated a corner of the soul world. This green thunderbolt seemed to be searching for something as it constantly shuttled back and forth within the gray, infernal energy. Finally, with a flash of lightning, it broke through the cage and landed on Jiang Chen's soul. "What?" At this moment, Jiang Chen cried out in alarm. His voice was filled with endless pain. Because this wasn't green lightning at all. It was clearly a strand of chaotic energy. His physical body stood at the edge of the chaos for many years, causing a strand of chaotic energy to rush into his body. And chaotic energy was not something that ordinary people could control. Even godly kings found it difficult to control. A strand of chaotic energy could destroy a true god. Fortunately, with the protection of the myriad transformations heavenly lamp, Jiang Chen's soul sank into the wick of the myriad transformations heavenly lamp, and that strand of chaotic energy twined around Jiang Chen's body like a bone-corroding poisonous bug. The chaotic energy did not have any malice, nor did it have any kindness. It was unconscious. At this moment, this strand of chaotic energy seemed to want to take root in Jiang Chen's soul. However, the power emitted by the chaotic energy shook Jiang Chen's soul until it flickered continuously. If not for the protection of the myriad transformations heavenly lamp, Jiang Chen's soul would probably have been annihilated. Kid, if you can pull through, it's equivalent to experiencing a baptism of chaotic energy. Your soul will sublimate. The undying bird said, "Do you know how much pain I'm in right now?" Jiang Chen's face was gloomy. He almost did not even have the strength to speak. After this strand of chaotic energy twined around his soul, Jiang Chun felt that his soul was collapsing at every moment, then reforming again, repeating endlessly. This kind of pain far exceeded the pain of the physical body. Jiang Chun was about to faint, But how could a soul faint? He could only grit his teeth and bear it silently, with a sullen face. Legend has it that before heaven and earth were created, it was a chaotic world. The undying bird said, but one day, a green lotus rose in the chaos. The lotus bloomed with 6 petals, supporting the chaos fog. In the end, heaven and earth became clear, and those 6 lotus flowers also turned into 6 worlds, the undying bird said. Of course, he did not know about this. This was just a kind of inherited memory of his. What's the use of telling me this? Jiang Chun said snappily. I'm going crazy. It's too painful. You said, if this strand of chaotic energy takes root in your soul and evolves, if it can give birth to a chaotic green lotus. The undying bird, Dao Hun muttered. At that time, your soul world is equivalent to a big world. Your foundation, the origin of everything, is like chaos, invisible, unfathomable, and limitless. Whether I can live or not is a problem, Jiang Chun said in a deep voice. His soul almost exploded several times. If not for the protection of the ever-changing heavenly lamp, he would have died long ago. Now, what was the use of the undying bird telling him this? Actually, there was once a supreme being who deduced that if you can control the chaotic energy and give birth to a chaotic green lotus, there will be endless wonders. Perhaps you can create a world, the undying bird said. That's just a deduction, a guess. Jiang Chun said, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. I'm in pain. Aren't you still alive? The undying bird curled its lips. Hold on. Maybe a miracle will happen. Jiang Chun did not speak anymore. He was in so much pain. His soul was twisting, sometimes collapsing, sometimes reforming. That strand of chaotic energy seemed to treat Jiang Chun's soul as a world and was creating a new world. Jiang Chun wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He really regretted it. If he had known, he would not have come to the chaotic boundary. Now, the strand of chaotic energy in his soul was simply going to kill him. Time passed slowly, and Jiang Chun was also in a daze. He gradually could withstand the pain, and there was a slight change in his soul. His soul, which was like a ball of light, actually had strands of obscure patterns at this moment. Upon closer inspection, it looked like a green dragon, but also like some kind of plant. It was very strange. Jiang Chun could not be bothered. He felt much better now. At least he did not feel so much pain. However, after an unknown number of days, another strand of primal chaos energy charged into his soul. At this moment, Jiang Chun flew into a rage. He cursed right away. He really wanted to control his body and leave this place. But now, his soul was trapped here, and he could not control his body. Damn it, 2 strands of chaotic energy. Can I still hold on? Jiang Chun lamented, feeling that his life was really over. Chapter 649. I've already endured 1. Why would I be afraid of 2? The undying bird's voice was very weak because it had been constantly eroded by the baleful aura during this period of time. At this moment, it was preparing to undergo nirvana. I can't bear it. Hurry up and undergo nirvana. Perhaps with the help of your nirvana power, you can dissolve these 2 strands of chaotic energy. Jiang Chun was in great pain. It felt as if his soul was being torn into countless pieces. This kind of pain was simply indescribable with words. Even though Jiang Chun's consciousness was firm, it began to become chaotic at this moment. In a few days, I will begin to undergo nirvana. If the nirvana fails, you won't have to suffer the pain of the chaotic energy tearing your soul. The undying bird smiled bitterly and said, at that time, we will turn into ashes together. I'd rather turn into ashes than suffer this. I don't want to suffer this kind of pain. Jiang Chun was furious and resentful, but also very powerless. 2 strands of chaotic energy were enough to destroy a small world. Now, these 2 strands of chaotic energy were on Jiang Chun's soul. It was like a bone-corroding poison that could not be dissolved at all. The pain Jiang Chun suffered was indescribable with words. Jiang Chun had experienced all kinds of storms and waves, all kinds of pain, but facing this kind of pain, as he said, it was better to die. It was too painful. Prepare to undergo nirvana. 3 days later, the undying bird's voice came, and then it fell silent. After a few breaths, a flame rose from the baleful aura. Like a raging fire, it lit up the entire soul world. The vast and mighty gray fog intertwined with the flames. It was impossible to extinguish. At the same time, Jiang Chen's soul also fell into a state of nirvana. He and the undying bird were compatible, so when the undying bird's soul underwent nirvana, he also had to undergo nirvana. And this time he did not know if he would succeed. The moment his soul entered the state of nirvana, Jiang Chen suddenly felt a sense of relief. At least, he could not feel the pain caused by the two strands of chaotic energy. But he did not know that when his soul was in nirvana, these two strands of chaotic energy were still circulating on his soul. It was as if they were cleansing Jiang Chen's soul, or as if they were carving some kind of ancient text or writing a scripture. This was a miraculous thing that had never happened before. Of course, the primal chaos had always been difficult to fathom. No one knew what the primal chaos energy could transform into. The people of the world only knew one thing. When the primal chaos was created, it evolved into a world. Everything was possible. 30 years have passed. After an unknown period of time, the hearts of the living beings on the godless continent began to palpitate. Calculating the time, today seemed to be the last day of the 30-year deadline. That day, there were experts who appeared in this world. They climbed high up and gazed into the distance, looking towards the bloody path's entrance. There were also people who went into hiding, opening up layers of small worlds. They were like cocoons, wrapping themselves up in an attempt to escape this calamity. However, everyone knew that they couldn't avoid this calamity. Unless a land god appeared, no one would be able to stop the land god of the sacred clan once he returned. Jiang Chun has disappeared for a very long time. After becoming a great evil, he shouldn't be coming back, right? He's probably lost in the chaos, never to return. Or maybe he's already dead. Some people thought of Jiang Chun. Some people even believe that if Jiang Chun was still around, there might still be hope for the godless continent. Do you think if Lin Lang Wentian is still alive, there's still hope? Someone asked. Lin Lang Wentian? Hey, he's already dead. What else can we say? Placing our hopes on a dead person? Someone said contemptuously. In the end, Jiang Chun won. Unfortunately, he disappeared. Boom! Suddenly, the entire godless continent began to shake. Someone saw that in the depths of the endless void, at the edge of the primal chaos, there was a blazing flame soaring into the sky. The blazing flame resonated with the primal chaos. There was even a gray mist that turned into a baleful aura that filled the sky. What is that? Someone exclaimed. Their eyes flashed, but they couldn't see anything in the blazing flame. It was as if the blazing flame had appeared out of thin air, as if it came from the void. There was nothing inside. It looks like the Phoenix clan is undergoing nirvana. Someone frowned. However, in this world, there were very few phoenixes left. Moreover, the Phoenix clan's nirvana couldn't cause such a huge commotion. Moreover, the Phoenix clan was known as an auspicious beast. How could they be tainted by baleful aura? 30 years have passed. At this moment, a familiar and even more fearful voice came from another part of the void. Immediately after, a man stepped out of the void, and the aura of a god filled the air. Where he was, the great Tao was collapsing. Divine light turned into ripples and spread out continuously. Saint Race, he is back. It's over, it's over. The godless continent has really reached its end this time. Everyone wailed and lamented. Their hearts were filled with unwillingness and anger. You are originally a creature of the godless continent. Why do you have to rely on the foreign realm? Zhou Yuan stood beside the land god. This question had troubled him for many years. Because I saw the general trend, the land god of the saint race said, the spirit race will unify the 6 realms sooner or later. I'm just taking advantage of the situation. At this point, the land god of the saint race stared at Zhou Yuan and said, I promised you the 30 years. Now, you should also keep your promise and not interfere in this matter. Of course, Zhou Yuan nodded. Everything in the world is predestined. There is fate, heaven's will, and Tao's will. The fate of the godless continent might have reached its end. It has begun. The land god of the saint race said softly. His figure flashed and appeared above the abyss. He was going to unlock the seal and open the door of darkness. Have you asked for my permission? At this moment, a figure rushed over from afar. 72 lotuses bloomed. When the voice fell, 72 kinds of divine abilities were like a rainbow bridge, drowning the land god of the saint race. Immediately afterward, a cold, pitch-black light tore through the void and shot toward the glabella of the land god. It's Nian Chang'e! That's Mu Xingyun! Many people exclaimed. They didn't expect these two people to stand out at this time. But soon, they were disappointed. This was because Nian Chang'e and Mu Xingyun's cultivation were only above the demigod realm. After all, those above the demigod realm were not true gods. All right, use your blood as a sacrifice to this door of darkness. The land god of the saint race said. With a shake of his body, the rainbow bridge formed by the 72 kinds of divine abilities was shattered by him. At the same time, the pitch-black cold light was also severed by him with a flick of his finger. How should we fight this battle? Mu Xingyun stood beside Nian Chang'e with a strange expression. He muttered, should we ascend? If you want to ascend, why wait until now? Nian Chang'e said in annoyance. He knew very well that although Mu Xingyun and Jiang Chun were mortal enemies, Mu Xingyun had a righteous heart. Otherwise, with Mu Xingyun's cultivation, he would have ascended to the divine realm long ago. Chapter 650. He had to avenge his life and death. However, Mu Xingyun had his own principles when it came to handling matters. Just like what he had said when he had saved Jiang Chun had to die in his hands. And he had to kill Jiang Chun in a one-on-one fight. This was his recognition of Jiang Chun's strength, and it was also a kind of respect for his opponent. Now, in this chaotic and prosperous world, he could have safely ascended and left without interfering in the matters of the godless continent. He could have become a god. However, he had stayed behind. Perhaps this was Mu Xingyun. Listen to me in this battle, Nian Chang'e said in a deep voice. I have a magical power that can temporarily fuse the cultivation of two people. Oh, after I fuse with your cultivation, can I fight with the land god? Mu Xingyun asked. As soon as he said this, Nian Chang'e chuckled and didn't reply. It was because they both knew that the combination of two demigods wasn't a case of 1 + 1 = 2. As for the land god, he wasn't the so-called two. Even if the two of them joined forces, they might not be a match for this land god. But now, this was the only way to have a glimmer of hope. Then, I'll leave it to you. I'll go to the Chuanzuan sect. Mu Xingyun smiled, looking relaxed, and a trace of emotion flashed in his eyes. He said softly, I've been his enemy for so long, but I haven't entered his sect yet. Sit down. Nian Chang'e said, later. Either you come and collect my corpse, or you die with me. What's there to be afraid of? Mu Xingyun raised his eyebrows. It's just that if he's not in this world, I'll be a little lonely. Just 2 ants, and you want to stop a god? The land god of the Holy Clan looked contemptuous. Divine light danced on his body, and then he took a step forward. It was as if a true god had descended to the world. Under his foot, the great Tao was collapsing. He stretched out his palm like an oven. When his 5 fingers closed, it seemed to suppress the universe. Boom! At this moment, the 72 lotuses bloomed with multicolored light. A strand of divine light flowed out from Nian Chang'e's body and entered Mu Xingyun's body. In the blink of an eye, Mu Xingyun's face turned pale. He felt as if his cultivation had been seized. He stumbled into Chuanzuan's sect and sat down at the entrance of the main hall. He looked up at Nian Chang'e and sighed. I've given you my cultivation. The rest is up to you. I am Chang'an. At this moment, Nian Chang'a's aura skyrocketed, and his cultivation strength was almost on par with the land gods. He didn't use any martial arts techniques. His hands danced and formed fist seals, and two fists as bright as the sun blasted out. Boom! After several explosive sounds, fist radiance erupted. It was as if the great sun was collapsing, burning the sky red. Even the void was collapsing, and there seemed to be a sorrowful cry coming from the great Tao. Interesting, the land god of the St. Clan said softly, but he didn't conceal the contempt at all. So what if he was infinitely close to becoming a land god? It wasn't real after all. Chang'an, right? Taoist Tong Tian's disciple, right? Once in this world, there was a time when you could say what you wanted, right? The land god of the St. Clan said mockingly, "It's a pity that your time is long gone." So what? There's still me in this world. Nian Chang'a roared, waved his fists, and rushed out again. At this moment, the land god's eyes narrowed slightly. Facing Nian Chang'a, who was infinitely close to becoming a land god, he didn't dare to be careless. However, after a few exchanges, he saw Nian Chang'a flying backward. Cracks appeared on his body, and even the space between his eyebrows cracked. The 72 lotuses bloomed, but there were cracks, and the divine light on them was not as strong as before. Alas, I can't beat him in the end. Mu Xingyan lay on his back at the entrance of Chuanzuan's sect's main hall with a wry smile. He touched his chest and asked himself, if I don't become a god, is it worth it to stay and fight for the righteousness in my heart? Do I regret it? Of course not. Wakako also sat there and said, if you regret it, if you feel that it's not worth it, you won't choose to stay. Heh. Mu Xingyan snorted coldly, glanced at Wakako with a strange expression, and said, your boss and I are old enemies. Now that I'm in this state, why don't you take action and get rid of me? That's between you and my boss. Wakako shook his head. His enemies don't need us to take action. Your boss is really lucky to have so many people helping him. Mu Xingyan whispered, sometimes I also think that if one day I have someone like you who is willing to follow me, maybe I can create a period of glory. For example? Wakako asked, and then smiled bitterly. We're all waiting for death. Let's chat before we die. For example, I want to create an assassin dynasty. Walk in the darkness and be the ruler of the darkness. I want the world to be filled with light and darkness. Hearing Mu Xingyan's words, Wakako didn't say anything, because he knew that Mu Xingyan's dream might not be realized, because Nian Chang'a was about to be defeated. Looking around, Nian Chang'a's physical body had been blown up, leaving only a soul burning in the air. This injury was too serious, and her soul was like a candle in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. Come back, Wakako exclaimed, and his body emitted a domineering aura. Like a rainbow, he rushed toward Nian Chang'a. He couldn't watch Nian Chang'a die in battle. However, facing a god on land, no matter how fast Wakako was, he couldn't be faster than a god on land. At this moment, everything seemed to be frozen. Nian Chang'a's soul stood in place, and a palm, emitting divine light, rushed toward her soul. Wakako's eyes narrowed. He was very fast, but it was still not enough. Master, I can't be filial to you in the future. Nian Chang'a sighed. Things had come to this point, and death was acceptable. The only thing she couldn't accept was that he hadn't returned yet. Back then, the two of them had been apprenticed to Taoist Heavenly. One of them had achieved the name of Chang, and while the other had stepped into the cycle of reincarnation because of some things. In fact, Nian Chang'a also knew that in terms of seniority, Jiang Qin's first life was enough to be on par with Taoist Heavenly, or even stronger. But in Nian Chang'a's heart, Jiang Qin would always be her senior brother. But now, she was about to die, but she still couldn't see Jiang Qin return, nor could she see Jiang Qin for the last time. It was really a bit sad. Try to touch him. All of a sudden, a light voice drifted over. Then, a flame rushed from the void, extremely fast, and disappeared in a flash. Looking carefully, it was actually an immortal bird. It flapped its wings and swept away Nyen Changa's soul. Then, the immortal bird exploded, turning into a sky full of flames and divine light. In the midst of the divine light and flames, a young man seemed to be returning from the endless flames of the void. Chapter 651. His body was blurry as if it was made up of flames. Vaguely, one could see 3 wisps of chaotic aura lingering around his body. This scene was too strange. He looked like a creature from the chaos. A wave of pressure filled the air as if the heavens were floating under his feet. It was as if the mysterious chaos belonged to him. "Who are you?" The land god of the holy race's expression changed drastically. He finally felt a trace of pressure. However, he was also very puzzled. Who was the person in the flames? Why was he able to give him such great pressure, even though his cultivation was not at the land god level? "Me?" The young man in the flames said softly. After a pause, he said loudly, "Chuanzuan sect leader, Jiang Chun." "What? Jiang Chun? Boss?" In an instant, several exclamations sounded. Some were surprised, some were shocked, and most of them were in disbelief. After the battle with Linlang Wentian, Jiang Chun had not appeared. He entered the chaos and became a great evil. He probably would not come out again in this life. But who would have thought that Jiang Chun would come back? He was burning with flames and surrounded by chaos. His aura was accompanied by a murderous aura. He was like a demon god who created the world. "It's time for this era to end," Jiang Chun said softly. His aura became more violent, but his body still did not solidify. "You're transforming? Undergoing nirvana?" The land god of the holy race frowned and said coldly, "You dare to come out when you haven't completed nirvana? You're courting death." As soon as he finished speaking, he punched out. The runes on his fist flickered as if countless suns were gathering. With a single punch, the void exploded, and flowers of divine light bloomed one after another. The fist was vast and mighty, piercing through the sky. Its speed was so fast that no one could react in time. However, such a dreadful punch was shattered into nothingness by Jiang Chun as soon as he raised his hand and waved it. "If you run away now, you still have a chance to live," Jiang Chun said softly. He stood in the flames and did not take the initiative to attack. This was because, as the land god said, he was still in nirvana. However, he had already reached the final stage of nirvana. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to come out. Once nirvana succeeded, Jiang Chen's cultivation would definitely skyrocket. At that time, it was even possible for him to step into the ranks of the gods of the land. Escape? I am a land god of the divine race. Why should I run? The saint race man angrily rebuked. He glared at Jiang Chun and coldly said, "You haven't even successfully undergone nirvana, and yet you dare to come out and block me? You really don't know what death is." "Heh!" Jiang Chun snorted, and a violent, baleful aura erupted. Then he said disdainfully, "I can't do anything now, so you're still alive. The moment I make my move, you'll be a corpse." "What a joke!" The land god of the saint race angrily roared. His hands continuously formed seals, and a broken spear appeared out of thin air. The void collapsed beneath the spear, and the power of the grand Tao trembled beneath the spear, turning it into nothingness. Then, the long spear hung upside down in the sky. With divine power, it pressed down on Jiang Chun. "Boss, let's go. Let's go. You haven't successfully undergone nirvana. Don't be rash." Wakako, Nyen Changa, and the others exclaimed. They could feel the terrifying power coming from the spear, which was enough to destroy a part of the world. That was a secret technique, and its power was so great that it was definitely not something that a mortal could resist. "Rebirth from the ashes, everything about me has come back to life," Jiang Chun whispered. Although he was still standing in the same place, his body shook, and a purple-gold radiance erupted. Within the radiance, a towering vine grew out, and in a few breaths, it reached the sky and stepped on the ground. The vines were like purple-gold sharp swords, piercing through the void and rushing upward. Emperor's Vine? This Tao soul, wasn't it destroyed by you? Many people were stunned. Everyone knew that Jiang Chun had three Tao souls, which were the myriad change heavenly lamp, the undying bird, and the Emperor's Vine. The myriad change heavenly lamp had always been there, and the undying bird had undergone nirvana after death. But the Emperor's Vine, everything has undergone nirvana, Jiang Chun whispered. His eyes shone brightly, and there seemed to be a universe floating in the depths of his eyes. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the Emperor's Vine rushed upward and wrapped around the long spear. Then, the vine shook like a dragon's body and suddenly rolled down, crushing the entire long spear. Sect leader Quan Zun, could it be? There's still hope for the godless continent. He's back. Many people in the world were paying attention to this battle. When Yin Changa was defeated, everyone thought that the godless continent was going to end. But now, they saw hope. 3,000 years ago, Jiang Chun unified the godless continent and created endless glory. 3,000 years later, is he going to do it again? Someone exclaimed and sighed with emotion. What kind of power and character was this? After 3,000 years, was the glory about to return? There's still 30 breaths of time. After 30 breaths, if you're still in front of me, your life will be gone, Jiang Chun whispered. The Emperor's Vine stood behind him, and the undying bird stopped on the Emperor's Vine. Above his head, the myriad change heavenly lamp burned leisurely, and there was a sword ray brewing. The most frightening thing was that there were 3 streaks of chaotic energy faintly flickering between Jiang Chun's eyebrows. The streaks of chaotic energy did not leak out at all, but they crushed the space around Jiang Chun. I'm a god of the land, the man from the sacred clan roared. He did not believe that Jiang Chun could really go against the heavens and punish the gods. He continued to attack, forming fist seals, palm seals, and several secret techniques. For a moment, the place was in a frenzy. Terrifying energy covered everything, and this part of the world lost its color. However, after 10 breaths of time, when everything calmed down, Jiang Chun was still standing in the same place. However, the flames on his body had disappeared by quite a bit, and the murderous aura was also gradually dissipating. However, his body was becoming more and more solid. He was about to succeed in his nirvana. At this moment, the sacred clan's god of the land began to panic. Jiang Chun had not made a move yet, but he already had such power. After he succeeded in his nirvana, how terrifying would he be? Jiang Chun, the destruction of the godless continent, is only a matter of time. You can't change it. The sacred clan's god of the land roared, but he was also constantly retreating. Moreover, his divine power was so great that it pierced through the sky. He was about to ascend. He was really afraid, and he did not want to die here. 20 breaths of time have passed. Only 10 breaths of time left. Jiang Chun whispered, "Can you succeed in ascending within 10 breaths of time? If not, take advantage of this moment to repent and look at the mountains and rivers. After all, this is your home. You can't stop me." The sacred clan's god of the land roared. A divine light channel had appeared, and he was about to ascend. However, 10 breaths of time passed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the flames on Jiang Chun's body disappeared, and everything returned to calmness. His body was completely solid, and a holy light descended from the sky. In the sky, auspicious signs appeared, and golden lotuses were everywhere. There was also the sound of ethereal Sanskrit chanting, and an ancient horn sounded. A divine aura slowly spread out from Jiang Chun's body. A god of the land. Chapter 652. After countless twists and turns, after experiencing suffering and pain, he was reborn from the flames and chaos and finally became a land god. At this moment, Jiang Chun returned from the flames. 3 wisps of chaos energy lingered around his body, like 3 flowers converging above his head. His tall and straight figure, his eyes as deep as the starry sky, and his hair fluttering in the wind. He looked like an immortal that had descended to the mortal world. Then Jiang Chun stretched out his palm. Flames surged in his palm, and wisps of chaos mist filled the air. Wherever his palm passed, the void collapsed, and the great Tao trembled. Chains of laws appeared in his palm. Seeing this, the land god's eyes darkened. The blood essence within his body burned, and great Tao runes appeared one after another. He didn't choose to escape because he knew that both sides were land gods. Neither of them could escape. Even if they escaped to the ends of the world, they could still find each other. Now, he could only fight to the death. Jiang Chun, why do you have to go against me? The world is so big. What can't you get? Why do you have to go against me? The land god roared. He couldn't figure it out. With Jiang Chen's strength, the world could be given to him. If the two of them joined forces and opened the door of darkness, the world could be divided equally. Together, they could rule this world. I'm not like you, Jiang Chen whispered. As a creature of the godless continent, you chose to betray the godless continent for the so-called glory and the so-called general trend. You don't even want your own home. Jiang Chen sighed. Turn back. Turn back. How can I turn back? From the moment I betrayed the godless continent, there was no turning back. The land god said solemnly, since ancient times, the winner is king and the loser is a bandit. Everything the winner does is right, and everything the loser does is wrong. If I win today, then what I've done is right. If I lose, everything will vanish, and my reputation will be passed down through the ages. Hearing this, Jiang Chen slowly shook his head. He really couldn't understand the thoughts of the land gods of the holy race, but Jiang Chen knew what he was thinking. That's right, this world isn't a beautiful place. It's filled with hatred, war, and evil people. However, this world was also so beautiful. There was love, affection, and the boundless mountains and rivers as well as living beings. Whether it was good or bad, sometimes it didn't matter. What's important is what you think of what you see. Grudges could be settled, but they could also be set aside. Karma could be formed, but it could also be dissolved. Everything depended on himself. Since you've decided, let's fight, Jiang Chen said softly. His palm didn't stop moving. At this moment, it had already arrived in front of the land god of the Saint clan. You and I are both land deities. Let's decide the victor with a single strike. The land deity of the Saint race said in a deep voice. He and Jiang Chen both knew that under the same realm, there was no need for too many fancy moves. It was an all-out attack. If he could win, he would win. If he couldn't block it, he would lose. You have no way out, Jiang Chun said softly. The Saint clan is going to end. I don't believe it. The land god roared, and the great Tao runes in his body burned. The berserk divine power transformed into divine light that swirled in the air, converging into a shiny spear that was covered in cryptic runes. In an instant, the vitality in the surroundings gathered, and the power of the great Tao flowed like water, supporting the spear. The next moment, the land god of the Saint clan raised his hand and held the spear. Then, he fiercely raised it toward Jiang Chen's palm. Hand like the heavens, suppressing all things, Jiang Chun said softly. His divine powers surged. The Emperor's vine and the undying bird seemed to have turned into imprints that floated in his palm. At the same time, a cold light burst out from the myriad change heavenly lamp. Like a swimming dragon, it appeared in Jiang Chen's palm. Finally, a desolate sword intent burst out and formed in Jiang Chen's 5 fingers. At this moment, all of his methods were used. Hand like the heavens. Then today, I shall pierce through this layer of heavens. The land god of the Saint clan roared. In the end, the spear collided with Jiang Chen's palm. Boom! Under a series of terrifying explosions, Jiang Chen's palm slowly fell without any signs of stopping. The sword light, runes, and imprints in his palm were constantly shattered, but they reappeared in the inextinguishable flame. It was as if the power of this palm was endless and indestructible. Just like this, the two were in a stalemate. After more than 10 breaths, a few crisp sounds came from the spear. Following that, cracks began to appear on the originally shiny spear. Sigh. At this moment, the land god of the St. Clan let out a sigh. He knew that he had lost. He had used all his methods and used all his strength, but in the end, he was still defeated. Of course, before the battle began, he already knew the result. Jiang Chen's cultivation had been achieved through his own practice. It had been achieved through nirvana. It was his own cultivation. As for him, he only obtained his cultivation after a blood sacrifice. This was an external force that wasn't suitable for him to begin with, and he couldn't fully exert this power. Defeat, in fact, was destined the moment Jiang Chen succeeded in his nirvana. It's over. The era of the Saint Clan has finally come to an end. The land god of the Saint Clan sighed. In the end, they still came to this point. Victory was clearly in front of them, and they were only one step away. Perhaps it's because you met me, Jiang Chen whispered. Destiny. Heaven's mandate? The land god's voice suddenly turned cold and full of contempt. He stared at Jiang Chen as his body slowly disintegrated under Jiang Chen's palm. He was about to die. However, he didn't believe in destiny. Do you believe in destiny? The land god raised his eyebrows. You don't believe in destiny either, right? No cultivator believes in destiny. If they did, there wouldn't be any cultivators in this world. Besides, you will never know how powerful the other realm is. 5 of the 6 realms have been destroyed. The last one, the God world, will be destroyed sooner or later. I don't need to know so much. I will know when the time comes, Jiang Chen said softly, but he was still afraid of the other realm. What kind of world was it? Why was it so powerful that it could destroy the 5 realms? How powerful were the creatures there? Do you know why Taoist Heavenspan didn't make a move? Do you know why the human sovereign is hiding in the 3rd mountain? Do you know why the lords of the 4 abyss are reincarnated? Do you know the identity of the 9 abyss? You don't know. What you see is just the surface. The land god of the Saint Clan knew that he was going to die, and he seemed to be venting and complaining. Jiang Chen listened silently, but didn't say a word. He knew some things, but he would never say them out loud, because when the time came, he would know what he needed to know. It's over. Leave with the sins of your life, Jiang Chen whispered, and his palm finally fell. Bang! With a muffled sound, the sky of the godless continent shook, and a divine night soared into the clouds. A rain of blood fell from the sky, and the great Tao shook. The land god died, and the phenomenon of heaven's wail appeared. Glory, darkness, sin, blood, everything came to an end. From now on, there were no more saints on the godless continent. Chapter 653. A period of glory and a period of sin had finally come to an end. The living beings of the godless continent were excited, and some even cried. This calamity was finally over. At this moment, many people looked up at the sky and looked at the man standing in the air. Their hearts were filled with gratitude and emotion. The divine king of a generation, reincarnated, rose again after 3,000 years and quelled the chaos. At this point, the world respected one person, the Chuanzuan sect leader Jiang Chen. The godless continent will not be in danger for the time being. The glorious era has truly begun. At this moment, Jiang Chen stood in the air, the inextinguishable fire burning on his body, and 3 wisps of chaotic aura gathered above his head. He was like a god. His voice was not loud, and there was no emotion, but it gave people a sense of majesty. It was as if he was a natural-born emperor. Everyone come. In the end, Jiang Chen disappeared after saying this. He returned to the Chuanzuan sect and used his own blood essence to heal Nianchanga. At the same time, the Chuanzuan sect reappeared. Someone used great magic to open a new mountain gate in a short period of time and rebuild the sect-protecting formation. From now on, the name of the barren state should be changed, someone said softly. The reason why the barren state was called the barren state was because this place was barren and desolate. However, from today onwards, the word barren was no longer suitable for the barren state. 3,000 years ago, the barren state's Chuanzuan sect unified the godless continent. 3,000 years later, it was still the barren state, still the Chuanzuan sect, and still the godless continent. Jiang state? Someone suggested, after the sacred clan's actions, all the major states have changed. The region of the godless continent should also be redefined. Jiang state? With Jiang Qin's surname and the name of a state? Good. Time passed slowly. No one knew when, but the barren state had completely changed in the mouths of the people. It had been changed to Jiang state. During this period of time, the Chuanzun sect was also bustling with people coming and going. All the sects, families, and masters of inherited forces in the world constantly came to the Chuanzun sect to kneel, pay their respects, and offer tributes. This was a true gathering of people from all sides. Jiang Qin did not care about this. After he healed Nian Chang'e, he went to where Mu Yude was cultivating in seclusion. The place where Mu Yude was cultivating in seclusion was pitch black and filled with underworld qi. This place was like a small version of hell. Mu Yude was surrounded by an aura of death. He looked like he was half dead. It was difficult for him to even speak. His injuries were too severe. "How is it?" Jiang Qin asked. "I won't die, but I won't live either." Mu Yude sighed. "I was severely injured in that battle, and I had to expend a large amount of my origin energy in order to protect the entire sect. It's already fortunate that I'm still alive." "How long will it take to recover?" Jiang Qin frowned. What's up?" Mu Yude was stunned. In this world, Jiang Qin was the most powerful person. If he had something to do, he could do it himself. How many living beings in this world would dare to stop him? "I want to go to the Eternal City." Jiang Qin said, "The Qin Kong tribe is in the Eternal City, and so is the Zhongzhou dynasty. I have some old friends who should go and visit them." "Oh, that's all?" Mu Yude said, but he did not believe Jiang Qin, because Mu Yude knew what the Eternal City meant to Jiang Qin. "That's all?" Jiang Qin nodded. His expression was calm, without a trace of emotion. However, Mu Yude smiled and stared into Jiang Qin's eyes. After a long time, he slowly opened his mouth and asked, "Did you get back some of your memories after merging the Heaven's Origin and Heaven's Xian bodies?" "Ha, you scoundrel Taoist. It seems that I can't hide it from you." Jiang Qin smiled bitterly and said helplessly, "I'm going to see where I used to be and take something back." "That's right. You left something in the Eternal City." Mu Yude nodded. He knew what Jiang Qin was going to take. It was something that everyone in the world called a treasure. It was a scripture, a cultivation technique. At a certain time, it was called a supreme cultivation technique. Everyone in the world wanted to cultivate it. Back then, when Jiang Qin was the profound sky divine king, he left the cultivation technique in the Eternal City, waiting for the fated people to cultivate it. However, it was not clear whether the cultivation technique was still in the Eternal City or whether it had been taken by someone else. "That cultivation technique is very important to me," Jiang Qin said in a low voice. "But I can't remember it, so I can only go and take it back." "But I can't move now." Mu Yude said, "Look, I'm about to die. Can this be saved?" Jiang Qin whispered. The inextinguishable flame burned, and at the same time, the essence blood in his body dripped down. The two merged and turned into a pill. This was a pill made by burning one's essence blood with the inextinguishable flame and adding the origin energy. This pill was unique in the world. "This is not a good idea." Mu Yude had a strange expression. He said awkwardly, "You want to use your essence blood and origin energy to heal me? That's too harmful for you." "Don't worry. I have a divine body, and my recovery ability is amazing. A little origin energy and essence blood is nothing to me." Jiang Qin waved his hand, not caring at all. Mu Yude did not hold back after hearing that. Then, something happened that made Jiang Qin depressed and even mad. For 3 days in a row, Mu Yude consumed 50% of Jiang Qin's origin energy and essence blood. Even though Jiang Qin's recovery ability was amazing, he was now like a half-crippled person, lying weakly beside Mu Yude. On the other hand, Muyuda, who used to be a dying man, was now full of energy. Do you have more? At this moment, Muyuda stared at Jiang Chun with a sneaky expression and could not help but lick his lips. Your King healed, and you still want my origin energy and essence blood? Jiang Chen's face darkened. This bastard Taoist priest was such a scammer. Are you King addicted to my origin energy and blood essence? Do you want to eat this? I'll give it to you. Jiang Chun was about to explode with anger. He waved his hand, and the 3 strands of chaotic qi appeared in his palm. Muyuda's expression changed drastically when he saw the chaotic qi. He exclaimed, Chaotic qi? You've mastered this thing? Not really, Jiang Chun said. When I became a great evil, my physical body stopped at the edge of the chaotic realm. Over time, some chaotic qi entered my soul. After I was reborn, these 3 strands of chaotic qi existed, Jiang Chun said. Of course, Jiang Chun did not tell Muyuda that these 3 strands of chaotic qi had caused his soul to be covered in obscure runes. They were like ancient scriptures that originated from the chaotic realm. They had also caused Jiang Chen's soul to be shrouded in an unknown aura. Unfortunately, these runes were very obscure. Jiang Chen could not understand them. Just like the true meaning of the great Tao, he had to figure it out and comprehend it. As for the unknown aura, Jiang Chun had no idea what it was. He only knew that with the presence of the aura, he could conceal his aura and even fool the senses of heaven and earth. Chapter 654. Chaos is the most mysterious and terrifying thing in history, Muyud said in a deep voice. This thing, I advise you not to touch it. It's best if you can get rid of it from your body. Why? Jiang Chen was shocked. He felt that the 3 strands of chaotic qi had brought him many benefits. His soul, in particular, seemed to have evolved. There's an ancient rumor that the chaotic qi is actually a strand of power leaked out from a living being, Muyud said. That living being has no records. It's as if it has never appeared before. But Muyud shook his head, indicating that it was just a rumor. In short, if there's really a living being that can produce chaotic qi, then its existence must be the root of all karma in the world, Muyud said. This kind of karma is not small. Even a divine king cannot bear it. I advise you to find a way to get rid of the chaotic qi in your body. Well, I'm afraid I can't do that. Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. The 3 strands of chaotic qi seemed to have taken root in his soul. They also seemed to have merged with his soul. If he wanted to get rid of the 3 strands of chaotic qi, he would have to tear apart Jiang Chen's soul. If his soul was torn apart, Jiang Chun would die. Be careful. If there's anything wrong with the 3 strands of chaotic qi, tell me immediately. Muyud warned him. Don't touch them. Since ancient times, chaos has been supreme. Isn't it good to control the chaotic qi? Jiang Chen asked. No. Muyud rejected decisively. There are some things you can't touch. We'll see, Jiang Chen said softly. He waved his hand, indicating that he wanted to rest. In the past few days, he had used too much blood essence and origin energy to heal Muyud. Although he had a divine body, he could not bear it. You've recovered? Half a day later, Nian Chang'e was surprised to see Muyud full of energy in the hall. Muyud couldn't help licking his lips. He smiled and said, Yes, I ate a few pills. Oh? What kind of medicinal pill can cure you with just a few? Nian Chang'e looked confused. He knew how serious Muyud's injuries were. Even a miracle pill wouldn't be able to heal him. Even if it could be cured, it couldn't be done so quickly. Let's not talk about this for now. Muyud had a strange expression on his face. How could he tell Nian Chang'e that he had only recovered after eating Jiang Chen's origin energy and blood essence? If Nian Chang'e knew about it, the 72 lotuses of this guy would probably bloom again. Jiang Chen and I are going to the Eternal City. Are you coming? Muyud asked. His expression suddenly became serious. As soon as he said this, Nian Chang'e's expression changed. He frowned. After thinking for a while, he asked, He's going? Yes. Muyud nodded. He recovered some of his past memories. Now he's going to the Eternal City to retrieve that technique. Can you get it back? Nian Chang'e asked. One had to know that the technique had been left in the Eternal City for countless years, and it was unknown who was in possession of it now. Even if that cultivation technique belonged to Jiang Chun, it was unlikely that someone would return it to him. After all, it was a supreme cultivation technique. If he wants to go, then let him go, Mu Yu said. Some things can't be hidden. He still has to go. Moreover, I told him that there's a path under the Wanchuan River that leads to the Eternal City. Even if I don't go with him, he'll go himself. Hearing this, Nian Chang'e couldn't help but glare at Mu Yu. He said in a low voice, "You have such a big mouth. How can you say such things? If the world finds out, this will be a big deal. What's there to be afraid of? How many people dare to go under the Wanchuan River?" Mu Yu said angrily. Without the power of a demigod, going under the Wanchuan River is suicide. Then you've decided to go with him? Nian Chang'e asked. What about you? Mu Yu asked. Then let's go together. Nian Chang'e sighed and pointed at the top of his head. He said, he can't ascend normally. After all, there are great enemies waiting for him in the ninth heaven divine realm. If he ascends normally, he'll be discovered and killed in less than 3 breaths. Therefore, he has to go to the Eternal City. He can only ascend through the Eternal City. Mu Yu nodded. At this point, the matter was finally decided. However, Nian Chang'e's expression became a little strange. He waved his hand, and hundreds of red booklets fell in front of Mu Yu. Upon closer inspection, they were all here to propose marriage. Who are they for? Mu Yu was also stunned. Hundreds of marriage proposals? Who in the Chuanzuan sect was so popular? Mu Yu touched his cheek and muttered, Could it be me? Cough, cough. Do you have any shame? Nian Chang'e said angrily. These are for Jiang Chun. All the leaders of the major sects and families want to marry into the Chuanzuan sect, Nian Chang'e said. Nian Chang'e said, I don't know if I should refuse. What if he takes a fancy to a girl? Don't refuse. If he doesn't like her, I'll do it. Mu Yu said hurriedly. There are hundreds of marriage proposals. He can't accept all of them, right? He can leave a few out and give them to me. You? Appearance? Nian Chang'e pursed his lips. Mu Yu, this bastard Taoist, had a lot of ideas. What? The underworld is gone, and you want to give birth to a bunch of descendants of the underworld outside? What's more, why don't you take a look at your looks, you bastard? This can't be made public. If his female disciples find out, I'm afraid there will be chaos. Nian Chang'e said, let's just pretend nothing happened. Oh no, a wedding procession is coming to the Chuanzuan sect. Suddenly, someone rushed into the main hall. It was the disciple who was sweeping the square of the Chuanzuan sect. He pointed outside in a panic and said, the procession is powerful. All of them are at the heavenly human level. They even threatened to make Jiang Chun responsible. Huh? What? Nian Chang'e and Mu Yu were dumbfounded. What was going on? Responsible? Come on, Jiang Chun had been healing Mu Yu all this time. He hadn't gone out at all. Since he hadn't gone out, he couldn't be fooling around, right? Since he couldn't be fooling around, how could he be responsible? Let's go and see. Mu Yu muttered, I really couldn't tell. Jiang Chun is quite sly. When did he fool around outside? Shut up. He's not that kind of person, Nian Chang'e said in a low voice. Then, the two of them arrived at the gate of the Chuanzuan sect. When they saw the wedding procession outside the gate, cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. At a glance, the lineup of the bridal procession was extremely powerful. There were 13 celestial tier powerhouses, and one of them had recently obtained a fortuitous opportunity to become a demigod. Chapter 655. A viper pulled the carriage, a real phoenix guarded the array, and an auspicious Qilin walked in the front to clear the way. This posture, were they really here to escort the bride? Greetings, Lord Chang and Taoist Mu Yu. At this moment, the leader was very polite. He walked up and bowed. Then, he said with a smile, We are from Qiyu Mansion, a faction that was established recently. Oh, Nian Changa said softly. Then, she pointed at the big red bridal sedan and asked, "Who is this?" The bride in the bridal sedan is the beloved daughter of the Qiyu Mansion's mansion master. We're here to accept sect Master Jiang Qin's invitation to enter the mansion and form a marriage alliance. The man said with a hearty laugh, "I didn't expect that our Qiyu Mansion could establish ties with the Chuanzuan sect. It's really our fortune and fortune." Wait, Mu Yud was dumbfounded. He covered his forehead and thought for a while. Then he asked, "Are you sure it's Jiang Qin?" Of course. The man was sure. He even took out a portrait. Wasn't the person in the portrait Jiang Qin was painted on? At this moment, Nian Changa and Mu Yud were dumbfounded. They had no idea what was going on. What's going on? Did Jiang Qin really go out to flirt with other women? This guy started flirting with other women after his female disciples left. The corner of Nian Changa's mouth twitched. She seemed to have seen the furious scene of Bai Fengyu and the others in the ninth heaven divine realm. Mu Yud was also stunned. He stared at the portrait and didn't know what to say. "Damn you! You made me take the blame for your own trouble. Bullsh asterisk T. If you didn't instigate me, I wouldn't have done this." Suddenly, a few curses came from afar. Looking around, they saw a dragon, a phoenix, and a vermilion bird coming from 1,000 miles away from the Chuanzuan sect. Huh? 3 virtuous beings? Where did these 3 fellows go before this? Why are they back now? Nian Changa and Mu Yud were stunned. These 3 clowns were always causing trouble. Moreover, according to the 3 virtuous beings, the bridal escort team. Could it be, oh, Nian Changa, you're here too. At this moment, Huang Dade came to the entrance in his human form. He patted Nian Changa's shoulder and asked, "Where's the boss?" Seclusion. Nian Changa had a strange expression on her face. She pulled Huang Dade to the side and asked softly, "This wedding procession, what did you guys do?" "It's not me. It's Long Dade." Huang Dade hurriedly shook his head and said, "He said that the dragon race is weak and wants to do something for the dragon race. He wants to cough that carry on the family line." And then Nian Changa's face was dark. She gnashed her teeth and asked, "Then he pretended to be Jiang Qin and went out to cause trouble for girls?" "No, there was absolutely no disaster. I didn't even touch her hand." Huang Dade hurriedly said, "We just wanted to give ourselves some face. That's why we borrowed your name. Originally, it was just a joke, but who would have thought that Shi Fu would take it seriously?" At this point, Nian Changa was completely speechless. He forced a smile and waved at Long Dade, who was not far away. Come here. Uncle wants to talk to you." "What are you talking about?" "Uncle, I'm the ancestor true dragon. Talk to me respectfully." Long Dade was as arrogant as ever. He raised his chin and strode slowly to Nian Changa's side. "Who told you to cause trouble?" At this moment, Nian Changa exploded. With that, 72 lotuses bloomed in his palms, and a series of spells poured out, directly suppressing Long Dade. This scene left the people of Qi Lufu dumbfounded. What's going on? What's going on with these 3 divine beasts? It's none of my business. It's really none of my business. I haven't seen the boss in a long time. I'll go find him. Bird Bade saw this and shuddered. He quickly ran into the sect. Then, Huang Dade also ran away. He did not dare to stay here. "Let me go. I'm the ancestor true, dragon-born from heaven and earth. How dare you treat me like this? Even that kid Jiang Qin wouldn't dare to do this." Long Dade roared. However, he was suppressed on the ground and could only move his mouth. "Oh, that kid Jiang Qin? Are you talking about me?" Suddenly, a playful and light voice rang out. Then, Jiang Qin clenched his fists and moved to Long Dade's side. As if he was carrying a chicken, Jiang Qin picked up Long Dade and stared into his eyes. "Is this true? Isn't this the Tian Qin Divine King who accompanied me when I was born? What a coincidence. Why are you here too? Long time no see. I've missed you." Long Dade's demeanor changed. He licked his lips and smiled. "Boss, put me down first. So many people are watching. How embarrassing. Cough. You guys, what's going on?" The man from Chiyu Fu was confused. We're here to propose marriage. Why aren't we even allowed to enter? Also, why are you guys suppressing each other? Are the games these days so big? Explain yourself. Jiang Chen was too lazy to say more. He directly threw Long Dade in front of the man from Chiyu Fu. Long Dade felt guilty and naturally wanted to run away. However, when he saw Jiang Chun and Yin Chang's dark expressions, he couldn't help but shudder. Then, he explained the cause of the matter. Well, everyone, this is a misunderstanding. After explaining, Jiang Chun naturally had to smooth things over. Otherwise, Chiyu Fu would lose face. Surprisingly, after hearing Long Dade's explanation, the man from Chiyu Fu was not angry. Instead, he was overjoyed. This is God's will, the man shouted. He held Long Dade's dragon claw and said excitedly, since you did this, then my young lady will be betrothed to you. Is that okay? What? What the F asterisk CK? Am I hallucinating because I've consumed too much of my origin energy and blood essence? Jiang Chun and the others were dumbfounded. This is not the right plot. To be honest, my Chiyu Fu has dragon blood in our bodies. Unfortunately, the dragon blood in our bodies is very thin now. The man said, the direct descendants of Chiyu Fu are the dragon men. We have always thought that we are the descendants of the true dragon. It's a pity that the dragon blood in our bodies is about to disappear. The man said, I didn't expect that at the last moment, we would meet the ancestor of the true dragon. The heavens didn't want Chiyu Fu to die. That's right, ancestor. If you feel that my young lady is not satisfied or not enough, you can choose any of the direct descendants of Chiyu Fu. We just want to awaken the dragon blood in our bodies again. At this moment, the man from Chiyu Fu kept talking excitedly. He was so respectful to Long Dade that he almost knelt on the ground. Chapter 656. This scene caused the crowd to be stunned and speechless. What was going on? Wasn't this a little too sudden? We're not even ready yet. Even Long Dade was dumbfounded. He stared at the group of people from Chiyu Fu and carefully sensed that there was a trace of dragon blood in their bodies. But Long Dade's old face turned slightly red and he suddenly became a little bashful. You're usually quite arrogant. Why are you like this now? Jiang Chen muttered. This was not Long Dade's personality. Lord Ancestor, if you have something to say, just say it. The man from Chiyu Fu said, according to the age of the dragon race. I'm still underage. Long Dade said weakly, at my age, I'm not suitable for marriage, right? When these words came out, the group of people was completely speechless. According to the age of the dragon race, Long Dade had just been born and was still considered a baby. At this age, how could he marry? Then, according to the age of the dragon race, when will you become an adult? The man from Chiyu Fu was also depressed. Looking at the dragon in front of him, he was not young. Why was he still underage? In about 30,000 years or so, I'll be an adult, Long Dade said. What? 30,000 years? In an instant, the group of people from Chiyu Fu exclaimed. The corners of their mouths twitched as if they could not take it anymore. Who could guarantee that a family could last for 30,000 years? Moreover, even if Chiyu Fu was still around after 30,000 years, 30,000 years was enough to erase the dragon blood in the body of the direct descendants of Chiyu Fu. By then, what was the use of dragon blood? Even if they used the blood essence of Long Dade, the ancestral dragon, they would not be able to awaken the dragon blood in Chiyu Fu. You caused this matter yourself. Think of a way to solve it yourself. Jiang Chen said softly, don't let outsiders gossip about my Chuanzuan sect. Long Dade's face turned ugly when he heard this. Of course, there was a way, but for him, the damage was too great. However, since Jiang Chen had spoken, Long Dade didn't dare to disobey. After thinking for a while, Long Dade's face darkened. He forced out a strand of origin blood essence and said, this is a strand of origin blood essence. Let the strongest person in Qi house take it. He will definitely awaken the dragon bloodline. At that time, their descendants will also inherit the dragon bloodline. This isn't appropriate, right? Origin blood essence? Isn't that too much of a loss to you? The man from Chi Lufu shook his head, but his hands were very honest. As he spoke, he had already put away the origin blood essence. Then he bowed deeply to Long Dade, and then to Jiang Chun. Then, without another word, he led the bridal escort team and ran away. No, from the looks of it, he's worried that this king will take back the origin blood essence? Long Dade was dumbfounded. This prince will never take back what he has given away. This was a question about the dragon's face. Lu Qingchen, how's the foundation of Qiyu Mansion now? At this moment, Jiang Chen called out to Lu Qingchen. Now, everything in Xuanzuan sect was basically managed by Lu Qingchen. One of the best. Lu Qingchen said directly, apart from my Xuanzuan sect, Qi Lufu should be one of the strongest families in the world today. Oh, Jiang Chun said softly, patted Lu Qingchen's shoulder, and said, you know what to do, right? I know. Lu Qingchen nodded. How could he not understand Jiang Chen's meaning? Lu Qingchen knew very well that Jiang Chun and the others were about to leave. It was impossible for them to stay on the godless continent forever. Then, after they left, Xuanzun sect's strength would definitely be greatly reduced. At that time, someone must support Xuanzun sect. And now, it seemed that Qi Lufu was the best choice. Of course, it was not to curry favor with Qi Lufu, but to subdue them. However, if Qi Lufu was tactful, they might take the initiative to come and seek refuge in a few days. If not, then sorry. For Xuanzun sect's long-term consideration, Jiang Chun did not mind taking action directly. After all, the world was so cruel. Sometimes, if one did not think for himself, he would be the one to get hurt. 3,000 years ago, after Jiang Chun ascended, Xuanzun sect declined and became a mess. 3,000 years later, Jiang Chun returned and made a strong decision to quell the chaos of the Holy Clan and bring Xuanzun sect back to glory. And Jiang Chun would never let that tragic history happen again. Get ready, it's almost time to go, Jiang Chun said softly, and then came to the main hall with Nian Chang'e, Mu Yud, and the others. Are you really going to Eternal City? Nian Chang'e said in a deep voice. That place is very complicated. It is indeed complicated. With your current cultivation, I'm afraid. Mu Yud frowned, seemingly a little worried. This was because Eternal City was very special and was not affected by the laws of heaven and earth. In the Eternal City, there were deities overseeing the city, heavenly deities lying cross-legged, and even ancient divine kings sleeping there. It was a very special place. An ordinary true god could only be a small leader in Eternal City, or even a lackey, or even cannon fodder. Jiang Chun was going there this time to take back that cultivation technique. When the time came, there would definitely be some trouble. And once the trouble came, with Jiang Chun's cultivation, it would be difficult for him to deal with it. That was originally something that belonged to me. Jiang Chun said softly, I left that cultivation technique in Eternal City, and now I'm going to take it back. Can I do it? So much time has passed, that cultivation technique should be in someone else's hands now, Mu Yud said in a deep voice. Once that supreme cultivation technique is in someone else's hands, how can it be returned so easily? Moreover, in this world, strength speaks. Although you are invincible in the godless continent, in Eternal City, at this point, Mu Yud did not continue. He knew that Jiang Chun should be able to understand. Suddenly, Jiang Chun and the other two's expressions froze. They felt that there was a terrifying force gathering in the sky. The boundary wall was shaking, as if something was coming down from the ninth heaven. After a few breaths, Jiang Chun looked at Mu Yud and Nian Chang'e and said with a bitter smile, Do you think I cannot go to Eternal City? I'm afraid you have to go even if you don't want to. Mu Yud sighed. At this moment, they all sensed that there was a master god in the ninth heaven using a divine ability to send a true god down. At this time, what was the purpose of sending a true god to the godless continent at such a great cost? The true god of the divine clan was already dead, and there was no danger on the godless continent. So why did this true God come down to the godless continent? They're here to kill me. They don't want me to ascend, Jiangchen said. If I ascend to the ninth heaven divine world in a normal way, I'm afraid that as soon as I enter the ninth heaven divine world, I'll be killed by my former enemies, and I won't have any room to resist, Zhang Chun said. According to a wisp of memory from when I was the profound sky supreme being, there is a passage in Eternal City that can enter the ninth heaven divine world without being detected by others. Chapter 657. The top priority is, you deal with him first. Nian Chang'e pointed to the top of his head, his expression grave as he said, coming. When his voice fell, Jiang Chun had already disappeared from the great hall. Several breaths later, above the white clouds, in that void, Jiang Chun stood upright. Above his head, above the endless firmament, there was something similar to a transparent membrane. That thing was the realm wall. The realm wall separated the godless continent and the nine firmaments divine world. Between the two, there was a primal chaos, law, and order. Under normal circumstances, to pass through the realm wall, one had to ascend through the great Tao of divine light. And for the people of the upper realm, if they wanted to enter the godless continent, they had to open up a passageway in the primal chaos, law, and order. However, the price was very high. Since ancient times, very few people would do so. But now, the realm wall was shaking. The primal chaos dispersed, the law and order collapsed, and a passageway was forming. Looking carefully, at the back of the passageway, there was a man flickering with divine light all over. He was walking towards the godless continent. Long time no see, divine King Tianshun. Several breaths later, a voice with sarcasm, mockery sounded. Jiang Chun did not speak, just stood there quietly. 3 wisps of primal chaos aura lingered on his body, and an inextinguishable fire spread out behind him like a wing. The dignified divine King Tian Chun has now fallen to such a state. What a joke! That man had not yet descended to the godless continent and was constantly mocking. However, Jiang Chun still did not speak. Back then, how glorious were you in the nine firmaments divine world. The gods in the heavens were led by you, and 36 master gods kowtowed at your feet. The man said, but now, what do you count for? When Jiang Chun heard that, he still did not speak, still standing quietly. Your temper is not small. Ignoring me? The man raised his eyebrows. The divine light on his body suddenly skyrocketed, like a brilliant sun. Until now, Jiang Chun frowned slightly and said softly, I've been recalling. I don't seem to know you. You. The man glared, but soon felt relieved. Of course, Jiang Chun didn't know him, because he had become a god only recently. Back then, when Jiang Chun was at his peak, he was only a small cultivator. Back then, I admired your grace, but now, you're like an ant in my eyes, the man said coldly. Let me ask you a question, Jiang Chun said. What is your cultivation? True God. The nine heavens divine world's true God list is ranked 3,600. The man immediately became arrogant. One had to know that not all the creatures in the ninth heaven were gods. It was just that cultivating in the divine world of the nine heavens made it easier to become a god. However, in the ninth heaven divine world, there were indeed many gods. Just like the ordinary cultivators on the godless continent, the true God was simply rotten on the streets. And among the many real gods, to be able to rank 3,600 was already considered an outstanding figure among the real gods. 3,600? However, Jiang Chun was flabbergasted and even more surprised. 3,600? This ranking. How could he have the nerve to say it out loud? Thinking back, when Jiang Chun had just ascended as a true god, his ranking had reached 137. That was the ranking of strength when he had just ascended. Now, a native of the ninth heaven divine world, ranked 3,600, was actually so arrogant and proud. Big brother, you are not mistaken, right? Oh yes, Jiang Chun whispered, and suddenly came to a realization. If the gods of the ninth heaven divine world wanted to enter the godless continent, they would have to pay a great price. Moreover, the higher the cultivation, the greater the price. In this way, the gods who came down this time, naturally, their cultivation would not be very high. After all, in the eyes of Jiang Qin's old opponents, the current Jiang Qin's strength was not very strong. Any capable true god sent here would be able to kill Jiang Qin. Of course, this was what they thought, but they did not know that Jiang Qin's current combat strength was extraordinary. Hurry up, I'm waiting for you here. Jiang Qin curled his lips. A 3,600 real god dares to come down and kill me. You! Very arrogant. The man was furious and his face was cold. Hurry up! Which main god opened this passage for you? Look at how slow you are, so annoying. Jiang Qin was a little impatient and urged, hurry up, after killing you, I still have things to do, I don't have time to chat with you here. I'll kill you now. The man was furious, his footsteps quickened, and the divine light on his body shone brightly. Finally, after more than 10 breaths, he stepped out of the passage, passed through the boundary wall, and descended on the godless continent. I'll let you know the power of the gods. The man roared. When he was talking to Jiang Qin previously, he felt deeply insulted. However, without waiting for him to make a move, he saw a fist light turn into a millstone, with raging flames and traces of chaotic chi entwined around it. Under the punch, everything seemed to quiet down, only the fist light illuminating all directions. The man was stunned on the spot. He wanted to resist, but found that his body did not listen to him. He had been intimidated. Could this be the combat strength of the former Divine King? Until the last moment, the man did not resist. Just like that, he was drowned by the fist light and then died. How boring. Jiang Qin pursed his lips and looked at the passage at the boundary wall. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he said mockingly, Is my name Tianqin not good enough? Or are your standards too high? Sending this kind of trash over? Are you courting death? Tianqin, if you dare to ascend, we'll kill you immediately. Behind the boundary wall, a main god roared angrily. Jiang Qin heard this, smiled slightly, and said, Oh, so it's martial god. Martial god snorted coldly, stopped his divine ability, and the boundary wall slowly closed. Jiang Qin chuckled, then returned to the main hall. It's done? Nian Chang'e was stunned. This was too fast. Killed with one punch. Jiang Qin smiled and said, A true god ranked 3,600 wants to kill me. This is a bit too much. They should at least send someone ranked in the top 100, right? Nian Chang'e muttered, In this day and age, have the brains of the main gods been squeezed by the door? Or have they forgotten your combat strength? If they really send someone in the top 100, I'm afraid I can't handle it. Jiang Qin's face darkened and said, Then you'll have to collect my corpse. No. I think they should at least send someone in the top 50. Mu Yud was very cunning, and he teased. Otherwise, it'll be a waste of the 3 strands of chaotic energy in your body. Scram! Jiang Qin glared at him. Jiang Qin didn't know what was going on. Ever since Mu Yud had told Jiang Qin about the chaotic aura, Jiang Qin had been repulsed by it. Sometimes, Jiang Qin even thought of sealing the chaotic energy in his body. But he could not do it. Okay, let's wait for Qi Yufu. After the matter there is settled, we'll leave for Eternal City, Jiang Qin said. Chapter 658. Opening the boundary wall between the 2 realms required a huge price. Even the Master Gods did not dare to attempt it lightly. Since then, the 9 heavens divine world did not send any gods down. Jiang Qin's days were also considered leisurely. It was just that Jiang Qin's cultivation had already reached the land god realm, which was the true god realm. In this way, Jiang Qin could not continue to cultivate in the godless continent. After all, heaven and earth were different. Due to the environment, if Jiang Qin wanted to continue cultivating, then he had to go to the 9 heavens divine world. Only by absorbing the divine power and divine Tao power of the 9 heavens divine world could Jiang Chen's cultivation increase again. And during this period of time, Jiang Chen did nothing. Every day, he accompanied Nian Chang'e and the rest to chat and talk nonsense. At the same time, he also greeted the three great virtues. These three fellows did not cultivate properly all day long and caused trouble everywhere. Especially now that Chuanzuan sect had unified the godless continent, these three people became more and more arrogant. Almost every 3 to 5 days, they would go out and cause trouble, and then run back to let Jiang Chen clean up their mess. However, there was one thing that made Jiang Chen very envious. It was because these three fellows were born different. They were special creatures raised by heaven and earth. They did not need to cultivate seriously, and their cultivation also rose slowly. Other people cultivated bitterly for 1,000 years before they had some achievements. And these three great virtues, in the midst of fooling around, their cultivation also rose rapidly. Especially Long Dade, this fellow was not only lazy, but also arrogant. But his cultivation also grew the fastest. After all, he was a primitive ancestral dragon and had a natural advantage. According to Long Dade, what was cultivation? I will sleep for thousands of years. When I wake up, I might be a divine king. Cultivation. Long Dade, your wife's family is here to see you. On this day, Huang Dade shouted at the top of his voice spreading throughout the entire Chuanzuan sect. That's your wife, your family, your whole family. Long Dade's face was black. Ever since the last time everyone in the godless continent knew. Sometimes, there would even be people who joked, calling Long Dade Chi Fu's eldest son-in-law. I am the ancestor true dragon. How can I be a match for a mortal? This is an insult to me. Long Dade said seriously. However, everyone could tell that Long Dade cared a lot about Chi Ufu. For some reason, Long Dade would go to the Chi Lu mansion every now and then and give them a drop of origin blood essence. This made everyone in Chi Ufu very excited and grateful. This was because, in such a short period of time, 3 people in the Chi Ufu had awakened the dragon blood in their bodies and became the rare profession of dragon blood warrior. The current Chi Ufu wasn't bragging at all. Apart from the Chuanzuan sect, Chi Ufu was the strongest. In fact, there was even a dragon blood warrior who had broken through to the demigod realm. If Jiang Chun and the others ascended and left at this moment, then this godless continent would fall into the hands of Chi Ufu. Because of this, Jiang Chun did not leave. He was waiting for the people from Chi Ufu to arrive. He wanted to see what Chi Ufu's intentions were and what their attitude towards the Chuanzuan sect was. I'm the chief of Chi Ufu, Shangguan Tuesday. At this moment, a middle-aged man stood outside the mountain gate and bowed. He was bowing deeply. Jiang Chun was a little surprised that he had shown such a humble attitude before joining the Chuanzuan sect. He knows how to conduct himself, Jiang Chun said softly. He sat in the main hall and shouted, "Come in." "Thank you, sect leader Chuanzuan," Shangguan Tu said. Shangguan Tu said. Then he tidied up his clothes and walked into the main hall of Chuanzuan sect. Chi Ufu's foundation is getting deeper and stronger. As the chief of Chi Ufu, why do you have to be so polite when you come to the Chuanzuan sect? Jiang Chen asked with a half-smile. Shangguan Tu couldn't help but tremble when he heard this. He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and hurriedly said, "The Chuanzuan sect is now the leader of the world. Although I'm the chief of Chi Ufu, I still have to be respectful towards the godless continent." "Oh, be respectful?" Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows and pointed at himself. Then he looked towards Nian Chang'e and Mu Yud, who were next to him. Then he looked towards Shangguan Tu and asked, "It's because of the 3 of us that the Chuanzuan sect was able to unify the godless continent and make all the sects submit to us. But if the 3 of us ascend and leave one day, can the Chuanzuan sect still continue to unify the godless continent? Will it be the same as 3,000 years ago? Once I ascend, the Chuanzuan sect will be kicked down by others?" Hearing this, more and more cold sweat appeared on Shangguan Tu's forehead. He knew better than anyone that Chi Ufu was becoming more and more powerful. Naturally, it was a threat to the Chuanzuan sect. The reason why he came this time was that he had no choice. He knew very well that Chi Yuefu had to make a decision and give the Chuanzun sect an explanation or even a guarantee. Otherwise, Jiang Qin wouldn't leave the godless continent. Even if he left, Chi Yuefu would definitely be destroyed. How's Long Dade's origin blood essence? All of a sudden, Jiang Chun changed the topic. He started to care about Long Dade. Thank you very much, Ancestor True Dragon. There are already 3 people in Chi Yuefu who have awakened the dragon bloodline. Thanks to the blessing of the dragon bloodline, my cultivation has broken through to the demigod realm, Shangwan Tu said gratefully. Jiang Qin's divine sense had been shrouding Shangwan Tuesday. As long as he lied, Jiang Chun could detect it. When Shangwan Tu said this, he was indeed full of gratitude and excitement. Okay, I won't talk nonsense with you. After probing for a while, Jiang Qin waved his hand and said bluntly, we're leaving soon. After we leave, what is Chi Yuefu going to do? As soon as these words came out, Shangwan Tu's heart trembled. He knew that this was the real deal. If this question was not answered properly, Chi Yuefu would be destroyed today. There is only one overlord in the world. Chi Yuefu can't be that overlord, Shangwan Tu said. The overlord can also be replaced. Jiang Chun stared at Shangwan Tu and said, Chi Yuefu is so powerful now. Don't you want to be the overlord of the godless continent? Isn't it good to create a piece of glory, to be remembered in the ancient books of the world, and to be admired by future generations? Jiang Chun asked. This is indeed very good. Shangwan Tu didn't dare to lie and said with a wry smile, but I understand that there are some things that can't be done. Oh, why can't you do it? Jiang Chun said jokingly. If the 3 of them leave, Chuanzun Sect's foundation and strength naturally can't compete with my Chi Yuefu. But what should I do after that? Destroy Chuanzun Sect and then dominate the godless continent? Shangwan Tu said with a wry smile. But what about after that? In the future, when my people ascend to the 9 heavens divine world, I'm afraid that one of them will be destroyed. Chapter 659. Oh, this kid is quite smart. Mu Yu teased. It's good that you know. Get to the point. Jiang Chun whispered. Chi Yuefu will be the biggest guarantee of the Chuanzun sect. After the 3 of you leave the godless continent, Chi Yuefu will still submit to the Chuanzun sect. Shangwan Tu said seriously, but I have a condition. Say it. Jiang Chun said, Chi Yuefu doesn't have any ancestors in the divine world of the 9 heavens, nor do we have any powerful gods to support us. Therefore, if the people of Chi Yuefu ascend in the future, I hope that the sect master will take care of us in the divine world of the 9 heavens. Okay? Shangwan Tu said. As soon as these words came out, Jiang Qin laughed and secretly thought that Shangwan Tu was really a good person. Chi Yuefu did not dominate the godless continent. It seemed that they had lost a lot, but in the long run, the divine world of the 9 heavens was a broader world. Chi Yuefu was willing to submit to the Chuanzun sect, but in exchange for a guarantee in the divine world of the 9 heavens, Shangwan Tu thought very well and was right. Make a bloodline oath, Jiang Qin said. If that day, Chi Yuefu violates what you said today, then you should know the consequences. Of course. After Shangwan Tu said this, he immediately made a seal and made a bloodline oath with the power of the secret technique. From now on, the direct line of Chi Yuefu would be led by the Chuanzun sect for generations. After making the oath, Shangwan Tu finally breathed a sigh of relief, but he still couldn't help but ask, Sect Master, in the future, when we ascend to the divine world of the 9 heavens, don't worry, any of my disciples can protect you. Jiang Chun said with a smile, also very confident. Although most of Jiang Qin's disciples and followers, as well as his comrades in arms and friends, had been killed. But at least there were still people alive. And those people, any one of them could protect the gods of Chi Yuefu after they ascend. Thank you very much, Sect Master. Shangwan Tu was so excited that he knelt down in front of everyone and kowtowed, saying, Thank you, Sect Master. All right, go back. From now on, when I'm not around, the entire sect will be under the control of the new sect master. No matter how high or low his cultivation is, you all have to listen to him. Jiang Chen said. After saying that, Jiang Chen shouted towards the door, "Hey, the one who's cleaning the wall, come in." Just as he finished speaking, he saw a young man walk in with a rag in his hand. His face was covered in dirt, and it looked like he had just wiped the wall. "Sect Master, are you looking for me?" The young man was dumbfounded. "From now on, you are the Chuanzuan sect leader," Jiang Chen said. "What?" The young man was dumbfounded. "What's going on? I've been in the Chuanzuan sect for so many years, and I've rubbed the wall for so many years. Although you imparted the 6 paths of reincarnation fist to me because I rubbed the wall, but this position of sect leader, was it also because I rubbed the wall? Big brother, please, be more reliable. Ever since you entered the Chuanzuan sect, I've been observing you. Your aptitude, talent, character, and conduct are all top-notch," Jiang Chen said. "Letting you wipe the wall is just to hone your heart." Jiang Chen continued, "You can't really think that by rubbing the wall, I can impart the 6 paths of reincarnation fist to you, right? You can't really think that with your cultivation, you can only be a wall wiper in the Chuanzuan sect, right? But isn't this too sudden?" The young man who was rubbing the wall still didn't react, and his face was full of confusion. At this moment, another young man walked in. This young man was the one who was sweeping the ground in the square before. "Sect Master, what's going on? You sent a sound transmission to me?" The young man was also dumbfounded, and he was still holding the broom in his hand. "From now on, you are the vice sect leader of the Chuanzuan sect," Jiang Chen said. "Huh?" The young man who was sweeping the ground was also dumbfounded. "What's going on? I was sweeping the ground, and now you want me to be the vice sect leader? You are also dumbfounded?" The young man who was rubbing the wall smiled bitterly, pointed to himself, and said, "I will be the sect leader of the Chuanzuan sect from now on." The young man who was sweeping the ground was dumbfounded. A wall wiper was the sect leader, and a floor sweeper was the vice sect leader? Is this true? I'm Shangwan Tu, the chief of Chiyu Mansion. Greetings to the new sect leader and the new vice sect leader. Shangwan Tu was very sensible. He hurriedly saluted the 2 young men and promised, "From now on, if the 2 sect leaders have any orders, just say the word, and Chiyu Mansion will do our best." "Okay, go ahead and announce it." Jiang Chen waved his hand, motioning for everyone to leave, leaving only the sweeper and the wall wiper. Of course, Nian Chang'e and Mu Yud were also there. Ahem. At this moment, Jiang Chen blushed slightly and coughed a few times, looking very embarrassed. Mu Yud, who was next to Jiang Chen, poked Jiang Chen's shoulder mischievously. He said in a mocking tone, "You passed the position of the hierarch to someone else, but you still don't know who that person is, right?" "Shut up!" Jiang Chen glared at him. Although Jiang Chen had been paying attention to these 2 people, their names, he really didn't know. "My name is Mui Fenghua, and I'm a wall wiper," the young man who was wiping the wall hurriedly said, but he did not forget to remind Jiang Chen that he was a wall wiper, because he always felt that Jiang Chen was fooling them. "My name is Xia Wuyuan, and I'm a floor sweeper." The young man who was sweeping the ground also deliberately reminded him that he was a floor sweeper. "Stop wiping the wall and sweeping the ground. From now on, it's your turn to sit on the sect leader's throne," Jiang Chen said, then rolled his eyes, glanced at Nian Chang'e and Mu Yud, and said, "Don't you want to give us some gifts?" "Ah, what gifts?" Nian Chang'e was confused. These 2 are juniors and they have just taken up the position. As seniors, don't you want to give them some gifts? Jiang Chen said teasingly, "I've already given them. I've given them the whole sect." F***CK. You're going to leave, and you still want to trick us? Mu Yud was furious. He put his hands in his pockets and muttered, "There's nothing to give them. It's just martial arts and cultivation methods. Just give them some," Nian Chang'e said softly. He was very generous. He waved his hand and gave out 2 cultivation methods. Jiang Chen frowned and seemed a little dissatisfied. Because he had already secretly taught Mui Fenghua and Xia Wuyuan cultivation methods, which were enough for them to cultivate until the 5 decay of heaven and man. He also prepared cultivation methods for them after they became immortals, and they were all at the supreme level. Now, although the cultivation methods given by Nian Chang'e were not bad, they were still a little lacking. Give them something more practical, Jiang Chun said angrily. Do you think I don't have cultivation methods or martial arts? I taught them the fist of the 6 paths of reincarnation and the little 6 fingers. Then, I'll give you this. Nian Chang'e thought for a moment, then gave a token to Mui Fenghua and said, This is the token of the heavenly temple. If you need help in the future, go to the heavenly temple. My master will help you once. Heavenly temple? Your master? Taoist heavenly temple? Mui Fenghua was excited. With this token, it was equivalent to having a big backer. F***CK. Muyid looked at Nian Chang'e. Since Nian Chang'e gave it to him, he had to give one too. After cursing, he also gave out a token. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.